Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all to Audubon's Springtime Speedfest. We're going to be kicking things off first off with our GT Challenge race, but before we get to that, we're going to have a special rendition of the national anthem. And to perform today's rendition of the national anthem, with me today is Gregory Hyde.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
One more round of applause for Gregory Hyde and the singing of our national anthem. And with that being said, we're getting ready to kick off our 20th year of service here with Audubon Country Club, dating all the way back to 2003 to get everything started off. And one of that will be one of the founding members who is here to kind of give the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command is Bob Norian.
Good luck, all racers. Start your engines.
Hi there, come right along with us in our Autobahn Driver Academy BMW M3 as we do a full lap around our 3.56 mile long track. Coming up to the start line, drivers should be side by side and looking toward the start stand. As the flag drops, the revs go up into turn 1 here. Great opportunity for passing here through a long triple apex turn coming around the back of the clubhouse. Onto the south straight, fans on the left cheering on their favorite driver. Accelerating out of the corner, hard braking into 1. Drivers need to watch their mirrors for competitors trying to sneak down the inside through this long sweeping right. Things start to tighten up going into turn 3. First chance to take a little breath of the lap here. But don't relax too much into a bank turn flat out for the brave. Smooth and steady coming out of here. Turn 5 is all about risk versus reward. High speed at corner entry. Drivers must exercise caution at the exit. Eyes and cars straight down to the 2 brake marker. A late turn in and back to the gas coming out of 6. Going into the kink in 7, it's actually treated as a straight, speed well over 100 miles an hour. Drop the anchor into 8, hard on the brakes, another great passing opportunity here. Coming up on one of the trickiest complexes on the course, patience is key through turns 9 and 10, slowest part of the racetrack. Wait to get on the gas as you pull onto our 1,850-foot straightaway. Another chance to breathe, stretch your fingers, and check your mirrors. One of the longest straights on our track at over 6 football fields long. Passing some of the world-famous garage mahals on the left, hard on the brakes for a quick right, then left combination through 11 and 12. Coming up on the transition from the south to the north track, keep to the left over the jump. Beautiful scenery as we pull onto the north course. Tap of the brakes for turn 13 with a quick setup into turn 14. An automotive ballet dance of corners as we flow into 15. Out of 15, carrying a lot of speed. Coming up on turn 16, never too late. Drivers going deep till when the track starts to curve. Back onto the throttle out of 16. Long straightaway as we go through the trees here. Smooth transition back to the right. Hard braking into 17, uphill there. Long left turn, really tight. Keep it tight going. 2 turns to go, 18 and 19. Maintain your focus. Hard on the gas. Let the car push out a bit. Shifting through the gears. One last straight for a final chance at glory. Across the start-finish line, and that's a lap.
Field now coming around the final couple of corners as we get ready to go for the first race of the Springtime Speedfest at the Autobahn. We're looking right now as the field now rolls around turn number 17, 18, and 19. It's the Titus Carlinsis, who's going to be pulling the field down the main straightaway with the 161 of Tom Herb right next to him. Field side by side as they come rolling to the start line, looking at the flag stand, and we get a green flag. We are racing in Springtime Speedfest here at the Autobahn. Going into turn number 1, side by side between a couple of cars right now. 3, 4 wide, maybe a little bit further back. The rest of the field able to get through clean and green as we come through turn number 1 and 2 for the first time this afternoon.
Now, as the drivers head into turn 3, they're going to file into single file line afterwards just to try to get a little rhythm going on. But towards the back of the field, there are some passes going on.
Titus Carlos, as we can see, is kind of pulled away a little bit from Tom Herb. Herb right now holding on to the second spot, but the rest of the field kind of going side by side a little bit further back. You got the 59 of Brick Casey Sr., I should say, is a little bit further back in the third spot. He's rolled around with, looks like the 81 of Chris Hutter might be there in the fourth spot right now. We got the 174 of David Calzetta, who's kind of sliding in the fifth, and that's kind of the top 5 as they run. But the top spot for GT1 between Tom Herb and Titus Karlinskis has kind of taken flight as they go all the way to turn number 8. Right now as the field kind of goes onto the back straightaway, Karlinskis is kind of pulled away from Tom Herb a little bit, but he's not letting him get away. The gap looks like maybe 10 car lengths between the two drivers. Britt Casey Sr. slots into the third spot. Tom Herb goes a little bit wide into the corner. Same with Chris Hutter. Both cars are going to go a little bit deep into the brake zone, but nonetheless, everyone's going to come through all right in green. We got Bob Norian is there. A little bit further back, that might be Scott Benning Sr., who's looking to the inside of Bill Keeley in his number 22 Porsche that's coming through the turn 11. That would be very fight racing. We go on board with the number 89 of Bob Norian. He's kind of right now right behind the number 08 of Mike Bernardi as we're coming through the backside on the North Circuit through turn 15 into turn number 16. Bernardi right now hits the brakes right at the 2.5 board, and we're on board with Bob Norian. A little bit of a slide there for the car right in front of them there. Norian going to get a pretty decent drive, but Bernardi going to get an even better drive. He's going to go side by side going into turn number 17. Can he make a stick? Nope. Thinks better at it and was going to fall right in line as we come off the final corner to complete the first lap. Karlinskis going to lead the first lap. Tom Herb going to run in second. Scott, that's going to be Britt Casey Sr. who runs in third.
Yeah, and Tadas actually has a 3-second gap between Tom Herb, so Tom Herb has a little bit of work to do for the rest of the race.
First lap jitters are done and in the books, Shelton, as we're starting to settle into a rhythm. As a driver, what are you looking for here now as we're completing the first lap?
So you're really looking to see if tires and brakes are all warm and ready to go, because the first lap is definitely going to be very, very tiptoey-ish because the amount of cars and the grip and tire temps aren't there yet. So it's going to be about another lap or two before we see these drivers make any moves or start to push the cars a little bit.
Everybody now kind of just taking it nice and easy through the first lap, as we talked about. As you mentioned there, Shelton, tires are still coming up to temperature. Brakes are still coming up to temperature. Even though they had one pace lap of 3.56 miles worth of just kind of getting temperature into the tires, they're still not the full optimal temperature yet. So we're taking about at least one more lap maybe before you can start to see those fastest laps and all these cars and tires kick in and you get to see the optimal lap times. It's still right now everyone kind of gapped away a little bit. Everyone's kind of in their little area zip code, I would say, but they got themselves a little bit of breathing room, enough to kind of get a rhythm going as we're looking a little bit further past. That looks like potentially it could be Valdez G in the 24 BMW, going to get a pretty decent run down to turn number 10, down the back straightaway, going on to the fence of the number 89 of Bob Norian.
Yeah, he's getting into it. He might be able to make this pass.
Valdez G going to roll the outside. Norian going to be hard on the brakes on the inside. They're going to come side by side there. Good, clean racing between the two, giving both drivers enough clean racing room, being able to make it through the corner. Valdez G tried to hold the outside. Norian went to the inside. Valdez going to look for a good run here. Thinks better of it. He'll slot back in line, try to roll the outside. Valdez kind of getting really wide on the exit of turn number 13, but he's able to hold on to it, kind of going into the marbles area. And Shelton, this is another thing I'll bring up. When a car kind of gets out of the groove like that, like we're seeing with Valdez G a little bit, he's losing time a little bit and he loses that grip. What do the marbles, when they get on the tires here that's on the outer edge of the racetrack, do a performance of a car?
Well, it's like kind of driving with all-season tires. Once you get those hot, slick tires on those marbles, it just sticks. It sticks to the tires, and it takes about a couple of laps for all those marbles to get off. So he will not have the most grip for a couple of these corners. So he has a lot of work to do right now to catch up to Bob.
Yeah, the biggest thing right now is going through like those high-pressure corners, those ones that have a lot of friction in order to get those the marbles off of those tires. Because you mentioned the tires are so hot that the marbles are just sticking to them. And when you have marbles on those tires, as we like to call, which is just actually pickup or access rubber, you lose the grip and the contact patch of that tire, and you're not able to kind of take the corners as fast as you want to, and you're kind of having to work a little bit more to kind of get those off. So in the meantime, Valdez G has kind of lost some ground. Bob Norian, the 89, has lost it because he just doesn't have the grip of the tires anymore. He's trying the last couple of corners to work it off. Now we can start to see him close the gap back up as he's back onto those fresh tires that he's been having. So Valdez G potentially looking to mount another run back on their 89 and onboard camera of Bob Norian. What a great shot we were having there from our Sentinel camera.
Yep, I think Bob might be at a little power disadvantage with the BMW running behind him. So with Bob, he's a little bit quicker than the corners, but I don't think he's going to be as fast as the BMW in the streets.
Well, the good news is that it is two different manufacturers of a BMW and a Porsche, but the good news for us, they're in the exact same class, so we get to see some in-class racing between two different manufacturers of car. Here we go, the battle back on again between the 89 of Bob Norian and the 24 of Valdez G. They go on to the back straightaway. Valdez going to take the initiative to the inside. Bob going to run the outside as they go into turn 11. Valdez and Bob hard on the brakes. They're going to be able to get it through clean, and Bob able to hold on to the corner as they go through that position.
That was a nice defensive line by Bob just to cover the inside.
Back on board with Bob Norian as they come over the jump. Valdez G has the position. He gets the spot as they go into turn number 13. Give the spot to Valdez G. Bump him up into the top 10 for sure overall position. But that is the battle for P2 in class. The next car for Valdez to go get is the number 08 of Mike Bernardi directly in front of them. Great move, by the way, by Valdez to kind of just go to the inside, take the momentum that he got over the jump of turn number 12, was able to carry the momentum that he generated himself, get on by Bob Norian, take the nice inside line, textbook pass going into turn 13.
Now, we don't see a lot of passes with the link between north and south straight, just because of that bump that you said. Now, I'm not too knowledgeable about how severe that bump is, but how severe is that bump if you're going on making a pass on the outside?
Well, I will say this. If you're passing on the outside, it's a lot more of an easier transition on the left-hand side than it is on the right. On the left-hand side, it feels like you're kind of just taking a step up on like a staircase. You're going up, 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 and then you just drop. Boy, you're going on the right side, that's where it gets a little intense because you may get a little skip and a jump over the jump that we have there, and you might be able to find some daylight in between cars. We've seen cars go over there but all four tires are up in the air. Does great for some good pictures, but interesting moments that you could be inside the car. So as we look further up on the parade right now, we have a little bit further back. We'll talk about the GT5 battle that's happening right now. That's between the number 31 of Jackson Tovo and the number 691 of Mike Keck. So you're talking about a Toyota GR86 Cup car versus Porsche 964 in this case, or 944 Porsche, I should say. Two different makes of cars, both creating the same amount of power to weight ratio inside the cockpits of those cars. And you're also talking about young Jackson Tovo. He's another 13 to 14-year-old kid who's had plenty of racing experience, both in karting, has now jumped up from the karting level and into the car racing level. He's recently done a bunch of FRP races in the F1600 series. He's now also jumped up into a USF Junior cars. He's raced Lucas Oil Open Wheel Series as well as Skip Barber Racing School. So this kid has done a lot of racing as well as US PKS and karting. He's been all across the country doing a plethora of races, has Dick's Sporting Goods as one of his sponsors as well on top of that. But Jackson Tovo has come into a plethora of races. One of his first races actually is he's doing here in the Autobahn Member Racing Series. So Jackson Tovo has been a really good talent, has a brother of Ethan Tovo that will race here as well. And Ethan Tovo has been on the same exact trajectory path as his brother Jackson. So two Tovo boys that have been really good in racing, have done plethora of stuff together, and they almost need to race each other because it seems like they almost want to beat each other every time when they're racing. Jackson Tovo taking a little bit of a defensive line there on Mike Keck going into the south 11 corner. Mike Keck's going to think better of it, fall back in line, and he's racing against Mike Keck, who has been one of the best GT5 racers that we've seen around here at the club in quite some time. Mike Keck was the defending GT5 champion who's come into the season trying to defend his title once more, but he's going to have some stiff competition if little young Jackson Tovo is going to be around here for the whole season. So we'll see how that goes. But on top of that, with the GR86, it's a really good way to showcase the Autobahn Driver Academy, as now we brought in two new GR86s. So if anyone's interested out there from the club or outside the club, if you want to get involved in one of our driver programs to the Autobahn Driver Academy, it's a good way, a good stepping stone is a GR86 from Toyota. They are a very good, easy car to drive, almost easier than the Spec Miata in my opinion, but they have really good braking assist with ABS, traction control on the car, so it's very hard to spin out. These cars are really fun to drive. And also, if you purchase your own GR86, we're trying to put our own race series on here, but also SRO, one of the Young Development Series in sports cars, has their own has their own GR86 series. They're actually racing this weekend down at Sebring International Raceway, but you can see a plethora of these cars with sequential shifters, easy to drive, 228 horsepower cars, lots of fun, and a great time to be had inside those cockpit cars. You ever drive a sequential shifter before?
No, I haven't. I haven't driven a sequential shifter before. It's all been paddle or H pattern.
Lots of fun, just like a sequential, or sequential shifter is just like a paddle shifter, very easy. All you have to do is just push up on the shifter just to kind of downshift and just pull back to go upshift. So lots of fun that can be had with a sequential gearbox, just like paddle shifting. We'll get a little bit back more to the racing action here as Mike Bernardi continues to lead, as we see on our screen, over the 24 of Valdez G and 89 of Bob Norian. That is the battle for GT3 right now. That's your podium spots right there. Just in front of them, though, however, is the 38 of Ernestus and the 81 of Chris Hutter and the 174 of David Calzetta. David Calzetta in that Miata that we see up there is actually a GT1 car, but it's a K-swap Miata. So looks like a small car, but boy, does it pack a punch.
Yeah, and he's actually lapping 0.3 slower than Chris Hutter.
Yeah, so David Calzetta right now is just 0.3 slower, like you mentioned. Just needs to find a little bit more fine edges as he's going to pull off to the side. Let Mike Bernardi go. Let Valdez
he's
G
smoking.
goes.
He's smoking. This is a little
little?
smoke coming out before he got to that corner.
Potentially a problem happening for David Calzetta.
Yeah,
so
we'll
see.
going very slowly.
He is going very slowly, maybe letting the field kind of get involved. He knows he's not battling in class with these guys, and these guys are all out-of-class cars. A lot of guys were kind of flashing the lights at him, so we'll potentially see what happens. He remains on the racetrack, which is good news for us because he continues going, but it allows the number 08 of Mike Bernardi and the 24 of Valdez G to continue on. Let's see if he'll let the 89 of Bob Norian on by. He does lay out the throttle, pulls to driver's left. Bob Norian will go on by, as well as the 66 of Gene Jodowain, but that is an out-of-class car as well, so that is for GT2 in class. Lots of good action that we've seen so far early on in this race. We are just about at the halfway point as well. Cross flags were in the air that time by, so race is flying by pretty quickly as we're already halfway through. 5 laps down, 5 laps to go. We'll talk about a little bit more of Bob Norian here as we're going on board with him right now. A little bit further back from the battle between Mike Bernardi and Valdez G in this scenario. Shelton, in this case, your third place, you kind of fallen back a little bit. What do we need to do to get back up front to these guys?
Now, it's a couple of things that he could do. If he feels like he won't be able to catch up to the car ahead, he's just be better to just sit back and just be patient and defend his position. But if he sees that he's getting closer, it's better to get as close as he can as these laps are dwindling down to make a pass and set up a pass so he can get the next position.
It is all about setup in this case. As we look further back to the field, we got a really good battle going on for GT5 right now as they go through turn number 3. Jackson Tovo is feeling a lot of pressure from Mike Keck in that 691. Last time by, the gap was only 5 thousandths of a second between the top 2 and GT5. So Jackson Tovo really got a battle on his hands trying to hold off the 691 of Mike Keck as they go through turn number 5 right now. They're really right nose to tail between each other. As you can see it on your screen right now, Jackson Tovo continues to lead the way. Mike Keck is trying all he can. He's doing a really good job hanging up with the young rookie that we see here. But if you're Mike Keck in this situation, you're just waiting for Jackson Tovo to potentially slip up or make a mistake.
Yeah, and Mike Keck is actually, last lap he was 0.4 quicker. 0.4 quicker than Jackson Tovo. So, yeah, you are right. He is closing down that gap, and he may be able to make a pass this lap.
Yeah, we're seeing it coming off of turn number 10 here. Mike Keck potentially has a good run here on Jackson Tovo. We'll see if Tovo does anything. He's going to remain in the neutral spot just on the racing line. Mike Keck thinking about going to the inside a little bit. Unfortunately, not thinking anything of it. He's going to tuck back in line right behind him. Both cars are going to come nose to tail off the turn number 12 through the little kink area over to the connection over to the north side, and they'll continue on their way. Mike Keck continued, though, to fill the mirrors up. What are you trying to do in Shelton in this position? Trying to kind of go through back and forth, potentially trying to get the guy to look in your mirrors the whole time.
Yeah, so you just want to get your car in his mirrors as much as possible to let him know that you're there and let him know that, you're not going to, just go off easily. So, and he's doing that also to just distract them going into the corners.
young kid behind the wheel of that GR86 Toyota, and you know Mike Keck, the veteran racer that he is trying all he can on playing all the tricks in the books and pulling him out here, just trying to get him to look in his mirror and potentially get him off of his racing aspects in the States. Jackson Tovo, like we were mentioning here, was kind of he's used to this kind of pressure. He's been in those top races, so he knows what he's dealing with here, and it's going to be difficult, a little bit more difficult for Mike Keck to kind of get around him. But as we see coming across the start-finish line here, Keck has really gotten in the draft. He pulls to the inside, looking for it. Thinks better of it, though.
Yeah, it's just a little too far back now. You just have to stay behind Jackson and see if he can force him into a mistake.
As we look on screen right now, we're looking a little bit further back of everybody. That's going to be the 21 of Andrew T. along with the 505 of Matt Johnson. That's looking for just the back end of the podium position. That's the battle for third actually on track is between Andrew T. and Matt Johnson. But a little bit further back, as you can see coming to the screen, blue flags are being shown as the number 131 of Tadas Karlinskis is making his way through to complete another lap. He's the overall leader, and he has to stretch his advantage out to about 5.7 seconds over Tom Herb and 161 Porsche for GT1 here as we come to just now 3 laps to go in the race.
Now, what Tadas wants to do is, as he's approaching these back markers, he wants to dispose of them quickly, most likely before these corners, because once those back markers get into the corners, there's only one racing line, and you don't want to get into the marbles to try to make a pass.
The biggest thing right now, though, is they got a lapper of the 59 of Scott Benning Sr. that's right in front of those two of Andrew T. and Matt Johnson. Now you got the 131 of Tadas Karlinskis catching up to the back markers of these guys. So Tadas might want to try to make pretty good work of it. After all, he's got about a 5 second, maybe a 6 second lead. He gets past one. He looks to the inside of Andrew T., thinks better of it, waits to the exit of this corner, uses the horsepower that Porsche has, makes the pass on the inside, going through the kink at turn number 7. Now he'll go to the inside of Scott Benning Sr., Tadas Karlinskis through the lap traffic and back in the clean air through the rest of his time going.
Yeah, so now Tom Herb has to get through that traffic as well, so hopefully he doesn't lose too much time trying to dispose of those back markers.
Lots of battles happening around the racetrack as well as we look on with just 3 laps to go. Going to be coming to 2 to go next time by here. Tadas is kind of taken away and taken off from the rest of the field. Like we mentioned, 5.7 seconds of an advantage over Tom Herb. You also mentioned Tom's going to have to go through this battle as well as we're looking at the 21 of Andrew T. and Matt Johnson as well. This is also the battle for the 3rd spot in GT5. Andrew T. going to go a little bit defensive here. Matt Johnson going to potentially go to the outside. Andrew T. kind of slides back in line there into the driver's left side. Matt Johnson going to go a little wide here, comes back to the right side, setting up for turn number 4, but it allows Andrew T to kind of create his advantage a little bit, being able to pull away as they come through turn number 15 and 16. Andrew T now trying to hold off Matt Johnson for that final and 3rd spot on the podium. 59 of Scott Benning Sr. also trying to play. He's trying to run his own race too in this process, but he's also trying his best not to hold up the 21 of Andrew T. Right now they've been able to kind of gain a little bit and gap themselves a little, but with Andrew T kind of being a little bit lower horsepower car, it's a lot lighter as we saw Matt Johnson really pile it in there into turn number 18. Gained a lot on the entry, but now as you see, he's losing it on the exit. Andrew T able to get the drive off and trying to gate that and grow that gap a little bit more as they come across the line here.
Yeah, if he wants to stay in this fight, he can't be cutting these corners a little bit early. He has to continue with his normal line to try to catch up with these cars ahead.
Field right now kind of making their way through turn number 2 and turn number 3 here on the Audubon South track.
So we're just under 2 laps to go as Tadas takes the start-finish line, and
as we see now right now, as actually Matt Johnson is able to get by Andrew T, it looks like there. A little bit of a mistake from Andrew T as they went through turn number 2 and 3. So move Matt Johnson up into the 3rd spot on the podium for GT5. Andrew T has kind of fallen back quite a bit. A little bit of a mistake was made there. Now we got to see if he's going to be able to catch back up and bring the fight back to Matt Johnson. As a driver, you've been so far holding position. Now you find yourself behind them. What do you got to do to kind of bite your way back?
You just have to be patient. You have to wait for the right moment to arise. You can't force anything, especially this late in the race, because it's a lot on the line, and you don't want to go through the entirety of the race only to not finish.
Andrew T potentially could be having a problem here as he has lost a lot of ground back to Matt Johnson. He seems like he's fallen off the pace quite a bit as Matt Johnson has now increased that gap, is basically trying to solidify that P3 spot of his. Tom Herb is also coming into the fold as well right here. He's definitely coming into the play. He's going to be going now past the lap in the number 21 of Andrew T. The next on his list will be the 505 of Matt Johnson as well.
Yeah, he probably won't be able to get those until the start-finish straight. So he's pretty clear for P2, and it looks like a solid run from Tadas.
Coming around the final corner right now, we're seeing the GT5 battle also kind of shaping up as well. Jackson Tovo continues to lead in that forefront, but he's also got a lot of pressure still from Mike Keck as the leaders are going to be coming around to get the white flag here in just a moment. Tadas Karlinskis rounds the final corner. We'll be getting the white flag this time by from our chief starter here. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go in the GT Challenge race for Autobahn Springtime Speedfest.
So now Tadas, all he has to do is just keep it on the black stuff and keep doing what he's doing the past 9 laps.
Nice and easy is all you have to take. You know, you've gone from that 100% or 95% of driving. Now you can kind of dial it back a little bit. Tadas has about a 5.7 gap, so you can kind of dial it back to maybe that 60 or 70% of driving in that case. Don't need to push the brake zones or don't need to push corner exits as much as you like to be. You can kind of take it nice and easy and kind of take a nice easy drive home in this sense. Tadas Karlinskis from the final time is riding through turns 3 going into turn number 4 on the South Circuit.
Yeah, pretty straightforward today from Tadas. Getting pole position, leading every lap, and potentially finishing first. We still have half a lap to go.
It's kind of like Max Verstappen himself in F1, you know, able to go lights the flag in this sense, fly the flag for Tadas.
Yeah, but Tadas isn't pulling a 30-second gap, so.
Definitely keeping it from a 5.7 gap. So Tom Herb has definitely been able to keep him honest throughout the course of this race, and it's good credit to him. This is the battle also back on your screen for GT5. Jackson Tovo in that GR86 Toyota. You have Mike Keck in that Porsche 944 as they go through turn number 11. Mike Keck able to get a better rotation out of the car through turn number 11 and 12. He's able to get the drive off. He just needs a little bit more of a pull down the straightaways. That's where Jackson Tovo is able to keep it sit. He's been pretty even down the straightaways, and he's just not able to get the run he's looking for. Mike Keck really trying his hardest all the way through this. He's really actually now starting to push the car a little bit more. You could see him really pushing the car through the middle corners on the exit parts. And as he comes through the corner, you could really see that he's just pushing those exits a little bit wider and getting a little bit of an understeer push out of that front car. Don't know if a little bit of dirty air could also be coming into play too, being behind the car as well.
Yeah, it could be. It's definitely not out of the picture.
Jackson Tovo rounds turn number 17. A little bit of wiggle in the rear end there under the braking zone. As he comes through 17, 18, and 19. He's going to round the final corner, get the white flag, as Tadas Karlinskis has quite honestly fallen off a little bit here.
And Tovo's been doing a great job to keep behind. So great job from Jackson Tovo.
Tadas Karlinskis rounding the final corner will come off the final turn. He will see the checkered flag. Tadas Karlinskis going to take twin checkers are out. Tadas Karlinskis wins here for the Autobahn Springtime Speedfest, cruises across the line with a very healthy advantage. You'll get P2 coming in for GT1. That's going to be the Tom Herb, who's coming in second spot. As we'll look a little bit further on, we're on board now with Bob Norton in the 89. He's kind of been on the hunt for GT3. Mike Bernardi has kind of pulled away a little bit. He's kind of hold off that advantage, but you're seeing on board between Bob Norian and Valdez G as Britt Casey Sr. comes across the line. He will win in GT2. Chris Hutter is going to come across the line here. He will be your second place finisher in GT2 as well. David Calzetta, we wait for him to potentially come across the line next as being P3 for GT1. But as we come now off the final corner, we're going to have Mike Bernardi, who comes out the final corner in the 0-8 machine, going to come across the line. He's going to take the win in GT3. And the battle for second that we've been following all race long, Valdez G in the 24 is going to come home in second, Bob Norrie in third, and Gene Jodowain is going to come around across the line just now. He'll finish just outside the podium in that sense, coming home with P4, it looks like.
Now one battle we're looking for in particular to come across the line is Jackson Tovo.
They're in turn number 11 right now. Jackson Tovo continuing to hold the advantage over Mike Keck. Keck really trying as much as he can just to get a little bit of draft, just to get a little bit of pull to get up onto Jackson Tovo and add a little bit of pressure. But Tovo has grown the advantage down the back straightaway and through the kink, or through the jump, we should say, the link going onto the north track. Tovo now has stretched the advantage to about 5 car lengths, it looks like, over Mike Keck as they go through the S's now of turns 3, 4, and 5 for the final time. Going through 15 and 16.
Yeah, these guys have been lapping identical times for basically the entire race. So these guys have been on their 100% pushing.
Only 4/400ths of a second have separated the difference between the fastest lap. Right now, Mike Keck currently holds it over Jackson Tovo in the sense. But as we come into the final couple of corners, Jackson Tovo right now holds the advantage as they come through turn 18 and 19. Keck able to close it up, but it's not going to be enough. Coming off the final corner, Jackson Tovo has done everything he's been able to do to hold him off. Twin checkers are out, and he's going to receive them. Jackson Tovo takes the win in GT5 over Mike Keck in the 691. That was a good battle that we were seeing all race long.
Right, great job from the young driver Jackson Tovo to put Mike Keck, keep him in his rearview mirror. Just the veteran that he is, it wasn't an easy task for Jackson, but he handled it really well.
As we see the rest of the field coming on through as well. We just saw Jackson Tovo and Mike Keck come on through. We have right now Matt Johnson, who's going to be coming across the line here shortly to collect P3 on the GT5. So we look at our top 5 finishers or our winners in each class. Tadas Karlitskis was able to take the 131 car to victory lane for the second time this year. He won the first race of the season by crossing the start finish line on pit road because his car was overheating a little bit and he kind of needed to save the car a little bit. So Tadas Karlitskis was able to take the win in GT1. Brick Casey Sr. comes home with the win in GT2. Mike Bernardi holds off Valdez G and Bob Norian for the win in GT3. Charlie Margosian, the name that we haven't spoken all day long. Very quiet day for Mr. Charlie Margosian. Comes away with the win in GT4. P10 overall for the nice young man. And GT5 takes the win away with Jackson Tovo. So Tovo taking the win over Mike Keck with a stellar drive by both guys.
Yeah, just awesome respect, awesome racecraft from both of those drivers.
With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. We'll come back to your action. We'll have the Radical Cup Challenge coming up next, along with the Wings and Things. That's going to be next in our schedule. You won't want to miss it here at the Autobahn Country Club. It's Autobahn's 20th year and Springtime Speedfest. You won't want to miss it.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
Lexus. Our motto is you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
We're here at the acclaimed Daytona International Speedway to show the Blazer EVSS in a way it's never been seen. It's beautiful with a sleek and dynamic design, but performance is in our DNA. And what better way to put the Blazer EVSS to the paces than having Team Chevy NASCAR drivers Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain get behind the wheel.
She looks fast.
Sure does.
You want to see what she's got?
Let's go.
All right. Yoo!
This is a Blazer EV SS. Let's see what Wild Mode can do.
Let's go. Yes! So much torque.
This is what performance sounds like.
What a ride. You think the Cup car will be that smooth? My turn to drive.
From 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Experience the sound of performance.
Yeah, I was definitely faster than Daniel.
In motorsports, a driver has to be at peak performance the moment they put on their helmet. There's no compromises, no room for error, and definitely no excuses. That's why Autobahn is excited to announce our latest series called Time Attack. On Sundays of festival weekends, members are invited to bring their street-legal, unmodified cars to compete for timed laps around our 3.5-mile road course. What is Time Attack? It's a single car, one-lap test of a driver's ability to push their vehicle to the absolute limits against the clock in order to achieve the fastest lap possible. We have 2 classes, cars under 300 horsepower and over 300 horsepower. But it's not just about raw power, it's the combination of driver skill and performance. That's it. You need to lay it all on the line for that one perfect lap. Can you perform under that pressure? Do you have what it takes to become Autobahn's first Time Attack champion?
Welcome to Kart Circuit Autobahn, home of the best arrive and drive karting in the Chicagoland area. This is our brand new fleet of CRG Centurion rental karts that go 50 miles an hour. They're fast, fun, and safe. They are also built for the driver that has the need for speed. Come on out and show us what you got.
We're back here at the Audubon Country Club for celebrating Springtime Speedfest and our 20th year anniversary of the Audubon Country Club being made here. I'm Jordan Missick here along with my partner Shelton Lewis. Shelton, let's go ahead and talk about the race that we just witnessed there. Really good battles between both the GT3 and the GT5 classes that we saw throughout the course of the action today. But really what stood out to me the most was kind of the racecraft that we were seeing between both competitors. You know, some guys going defensive lines, some guys taking the proper racing line, but very interesting tactics on how we're able to either defend position or gain a position, both from the defensive offensive perspective.
Yeah, it was very up in the air with the positioning of a lot of these drivers with making passes or defending, which was very, very interesting, and it was really great to see the racing too. It was very clean, very straightforward. You know, hopefully we can have the next races exactly the same.
Well, I mean, it was a great way to kind of get things started and get our event kicked off here for this afternoon. A lot of great racing. Quite honestly, that was probably one of the faster GT races that we've ever had here at the club. Seeing that, you know, I just picked my head up after talking a lot, and we saw there was 5 laps to go. I was like, dang, the race is already halfway over. There was just that much action that was happening at the very beginning part of the race.
Yeah, usually there'll maybe like an incident or something that happened during the race, but this was there was green flag all the way through. So great racing from all the drivers. Great to keep out of trouble for all the drivers as well.
And the action's only going to heat up the more as we go. Not only today with the action on track, but the weather itself. It's been a perfect day here at the Audubon Country Club.
Yeah, this past week we have gotten rain, and more rain.
Yeah, we did. You know, yesterday morning it was just rain. The whole track was just all wet and everything. We had our chase race that happened late last night, and it was kind of into the part where, you know, we had some weepers coming through the track. We had some water that was streaming across the entire racetrack, and it made for a very difficult and challenging chase race that, quite honestly, made it very entertaining for everyone to see.
And the thing about that too, as you said, a lot of these drivers take the week to prepare themselves for these races or the day before, and with the rain coming in as it did yesterday and then clearing up at the afternoon mark, it was kind of hard for a lot of these drivers to actually get any running time or get any good data or knowledge from the track. So a lot of these drivers came in today with unknown, but there's a lot of benefits that can happen from it too.
And just like you're seeing on the screen with those billboards there, it's a great way to get some of your advertising out there for all the people and viewers to see during live streams. So check out the new Maximum Insurance board located at the south entrance of Turn 1. You can watch for a new sign that's coming up here soon. It's going to be the BMW Assuresville sign and South Shore Jaguar Land Rover. There are going to be still a couple of spots available. If you want to get your promotion in, you know, you could be able to promote your business at the Midwest at the Midwest Premier Motorsports Club, which is known as Audubon. And Audubon, obviously, today, we like to thank all of our members for being on hand today to celebrate Springtime Speedfest. Make sure you also head over to the clubhouse to pick up your 20th anniversary koozie. And we're also going to be having a toast around 7 p.m. for our special 20th anniversary toast. So all the members here on property, if you're watching here close to the Audubon, come on down to the Audubon and enjoy the live stream, as well as a nice 20th anniversary toast over at the clubhouse at 7 p.m.
So you mentioned a 20-year koozie. So that means we're getting a jacuzzi, or
not a jacuzzi, a koozie, not a jacuzzi.
Okay.
I know where you were going with that, and I know when you said it, you probably, listening a little bit just for some specific words. So when you heard jacuzzi, it was like, ooh, we get to relax in a hot tub, right?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like we need a relaxing day in a hot tub with the week that we've been having.
I mean, it's been quite the week. Let's just say that with all the rain and everything we've been having, it's been some week for sure. Radical cars we can hear right now behind us are actually making their way to the grid for race number 2 of the day on the docket. So we're going to be seeing a bunch of open wheel radical cars that we're going to be seeing. Probably our fastest race of the day, Shelton, as we were talking and qualifying. These cars right now looking at speeds of around, let's say 120 miles an hour around our south track and full track here, but we're also looking at lap times within the 222 range.
Right, as well as we have 2 cars that are entering this race. There are Wolf manufacturer. They're pretty similar to the Radicals. They're lightweight, a little bit more aerodynamic beneficial, and they're lapping quicker than the Radicals right now. So they're lapping 2:17s in qualifying, while the Radicals are doing 2:20. So
yep.
3 second difference is quite a lot.
little bit lighter weight car than what the Radical has to offer, and a little bit more pull that the Wolves were able to get over the Radicals. But Radical also has been a pretty good staple here for the Autobahn for quite a long time. We've been having cars coming in here since, 2013, I think. We had our own Radical National Series that came here and did a challenge event here. We also had back in 2016 and 2017 our own invitational event that we've had with the Radical Cup Series. So they've been able to come here and be able to experience our track as well. We've also had races of our good friend Jeff Green as well. We've had a Jeff Green Memorial race for the Radical Cup Series here. So Radical has been a pretty good staple of the Autobahn Country Club here and has been here for quite some time. As we see now, the grid is starting to form a little bit. All the Radicals are down there, and here come the Wolves into the background, entering into the fold as well to get their things going. 3-minute board is up, so which means we are 3 minutes away from the cars rolling off the grid onto the start-finish straight. As well as we talk about these cars all having a lot of wings on them as well, we like to also make a special thanks to our winging friends over at Bell Helicopters. With thanks to Bell Flights, and we have sponsor at Bell Helicopters, we have our own landing pad that's just inside the front gate. A couple of Radical Cup owners potentially even have helicopters as well that we've seen fly in and out from time to time. So if you want a really quick, easy, and fast traveling way to get to the Autobahn, you don't have to miss all the traffic. Just get yourself a Bell Helicopter and you can make your way on into the Autobahn in record time. Also, we'd like to take time to also thank our performance fleet as well as our pace car that just pulled out in front of the field with our partners from Lexus, who provide us with the LC500 and the F Sport, which becomes the official pace car of our Autobahn member racing series. You also get a chance to have the Lexus IS500s or LC500s and the IS500s as well, and you can provide those up at the performance fleet at the clubhouse and be able to have them during lunchtime touring. If you want to, you could sign up today for one of our Autobahn's performance fleet vehicles for lunchtime touring. This year we have this year's provided by Audi, BMW, Cadillac, Chevrolet, and Lexus. And you can do that by going through the Autobahn app to select your favorite car and select your time slot to come out here and be able to do lunchtime touring in one of our personal Autobahn fleet cars. And if you're out here watching all these cars coming up to the grid as well, you're able to watch the race from our old second south deck. We have today also provided a nice, cool, and comfortable place to cheer on your favorite member drivers and teams as well. We also have now just installed new camera systems as well out there. So nothing beats watching live racing, but just in case you want to see them more when they go behind the trees in the background, you can always check out the new broadcast and live timing screens on the old second deck that we've been able to see out there. So we have new TVs installed that are able to watch the live streams, able to hear us talk, Shelton, throughout the course of the day, and you're able to see all the pictures that we have going on throughout the complex and the facility. We are given the 1 minute to go sign, so engines have come to life, and we are getting ready to see these 250 horsepower Radical cars take to life around this 3.56 mile track of the Autobahn Country Club. Shelton, as we get ready to go, final thoughts before we go green, what are we expecting out of this race here today?
You know what? It's very up in the air, but one person in particular that I think will do really great is Ben Blander and Evan Cooley. Now,
that's two people, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Two people that we should be looking for is Ben Blander and Evan Cooley. Ben Blander has just came back from a race weekend last week at Barber Motorsports Park. And you were there too, right, Jordan?
I was, yes. I was there with them during IndyCar weekend, actually.
So how did that go for you?
Well, me personally, I'm not going to gloat too much, but I came away with 2 second-place finishes and a win myself. But was in the same race as Ben Blander himself, and Evan Cooley as well was there in the USF Juniors race as well, so great to see him and his performance as well. And I believe, if my eyes don't deceive me, a little bit further back, we have one late entry, and it looks like it might be the 61 of Mike Gonzalez.
Yeah, I noticed that when he was pulling up to the grid, and I was like, "Oh, this might be a factor that to play in too," because he's came back from Barber, did really well at Barber. So now let's see how he does coming from the back of the grid.
And if my eyes don't trick me again for a second time, I'm looking a little bit further back, and I think John Mikulski in the number 22 has switched teams apparently from a Red Bull team to a Ferrari team. Just kidding. He's changed liveries. So we did mention this too, and I guess this could be a talking point as we go through this starting lineup really quick. We'll actually go through that really quick as we talk about this. On the pole, there's going to be Nico Karavitis and John Stafford. They're going to be part of the wings and things in those Wolf's Thunder that you see at the front of the grid. We go into the Radical grid as well. That's going to be Ben Blander in the number 34. He's going to be starting off as well on the pole. Evan Cooley going to be in second. Francesco Davila is going to start off third in the 738. Alone Kim is going to roll off fourth in the Radical Cup field. Kevin Lockridge in the number 61 is going to roll off fifth. John Mikulski going to start to his outside in the sixth spot. And then rounding up the field is going to be the number 61 of Mike Gonzaldi. Once again, we talked about a late entry, but let's go back a little bit to the number 22 of John Mikulski. We mentioned earlier that when he was sitting on pit road, he was having that engine cover off and having a little bit of issues with his car. Potentially could have been detrimental enough for him to run that car, and he's had to kind of go to a backup car in this sense.
Yeah, and that was a good choice from him because you don't want to go into a race knowing that you might have shifting problems. So him switching his car out is definitely a good choice, and he's going to be probably on a much better tire set too.
That too as well. So we're going to be seeing that as well because he's only done 1 or 2 laps in the qualifying session. So he's technically got fresh tires on him, and he's going to be just starting from iron back. But now he's got a Ferrari scheme on him, so he's going to be just as fast, right? Okay. The awkward little bit of silence is kind of funny in that sense. But nonetheless, we were noticing too he was having the little bit of glitches with the steering wheel as well, which potentially we said was potentially causing some shifting issues as they were rolling the car back and forth, not able to get the car out of gear, it looked like it, back in the neutral sense. So for John Mikulski, got another car in a sense. He's going to have a clear mind going into this race. Look for John Mikulski to potentially be aggressive and fast here at the start of this race.
Now, it could go both ways for John Mikulski as well. With his primary car that he started qualifying with, could have that setup for full track. Unlike the Ferrari livery car that he has, we don't know what setup he's running or if there is a setup on it.
Or if the setup has changed at all. So we can see what's going to happen when they come to green here and how that car is going to react when they hit the green in this sense. So the field's now kind of come to the backside of the racetrack. We're going to be seeing the field now stack up 2 by 2 as they're coming through turns 15 and 16. Face car is now kind of pulled away a little bit. The field kind of getting themselves staggered up a little bit. Was that a little bit of water I just saw coming out of the back end of Ben Blander's car in the middle of turn 16? Potentially, water's maybe seeping up a little bit with the way the heat of the track is coming through. We might see water kind of weeping through the track, so we'll have to see how that plays out as this race goes on. Pace car has kind of pulled away a little bit. Field now in the lockstep formation of the two Wolves with Nico Kiravitas and John Stafford leading the way. Pace car now pulled into pit road, and now the field has kind of fallen into the hands of John Stafford and Nico Kiravitas.
So John's starting to pick up the pace now. Oh, slowing down. So he's going to try to keep the field contained as much as possible until the very last second so he can get a good start into turn 1.
2 by 2, the field rolls down here, waiting on the starter of Chris, who's going to be given the green flag here. The field looks good. A little bit of a slow starter we see. Green flag is now flying down the air.
Evan Cooley gets a jump.
Mike Gonzalez kind of in the grass a little bit there. He had a little bit of a rough riding as they go through. Field now making it through turn number 1 and 2. Blander has a little bit of a jump. Cooley able to power on the outside. The two leaders in Radical go side by side.
And they're still side by side coming into turn 2.
That looks like it's Nico Kiravitas or John Stafford going to the inside, potentially trying to get the lead. That's the battle for wings and things. The Wolves are kind of working together in that sense. Cooley able to jump out to the early lead. Blander tried to get the run on the inside for second. He kind of slots in the line. Mikulski loses a spot further back. As you saw, Mike Gonzalez, he's already up to the 4th spot. So Mike Gonzalez, who was halfway off the track on the start here, kind of rolling through the grass, has now found his way up to the 4th spot.
Yeah, I think he probably caught into some traffic at the start of the green flag, so he had nowhere to go.
Yeah, so right now everyone kind of trying to settle themselves out here a little bit. The gap's now kind of starting to separate themselves here, but up front it's still a huge battle between Evan Cooley and Ben Blander. Blander kind of hanging on to the back bumper of Evan Cooley, but Cooley trying to keep his focus forward and not let the Wolves in front of him kind of slow him up a little bit.
Yeah, Cooley's on a mission right now. He's trying to catch up to Nico and John, as well as leaving Ben behind.
So as the field now comes out of turn number 10, it is Nico who leads the way from John Stafford. Evan Cooley in the lead in Radical Cup, I would say. Ben Blander runs in second. The battle for third heats up between Kevin Lockridge in the 61 and Mike Anzaldi also in the 61, it looks like.
Yeah, and Zaldi is going to be a mover too, so it's going to be great to watch him.
And Zaldi looking to the inside right now into turn number 13 here on the north side. And Zaldi going to clear the spot. Does he get able to hold it on the racetrack? He does, but now he's got a little bit of a defensive line as they go through turn number 4. And Zaldi able to hold on to it for now. Lockridge trying to use the draft as he can to get a good run as they come to turn number 16. Mike Zaldi able to hold on to it for now, and now he sets his sights on Ben Blander and Evan Cooley in front of them.
4 cars down, 2 to go.
So as right now, Evan Cooley is continually the way. Ben Blander now holds in second. Cooley starts to pull his advantage away. Anzaldi now clears Kevin Lockridge. He's going to set his sights further up on Ben Blander for second spot, but promote Mike Anzaldi to the third spot on the podium. Kevin Lockridge, though, not going to let it go easy. He's going to stick with them, try to get in a little bit of a slipstream here as they come across the start-finish line for the completion of lap 1 going into turn number 1.
Now, Kevin isn't going to lay down and die easily. He's going to try to bring the fight back to Mike Anzaldi going into turn 3.
He's kind of hanging on with him a little bit, and then as well, he's kind of hanging on with them, trying to get back in line. Meanwhile, the Wolves are kind of battling with each other, with Nico Karavitas and John Stafford kind of holding up front right now. Both of them kind of using each other, kind of just run in lockstep formation. Monkey see, monkey do, I would say, in that sense. But for the most part right now, they kind of been just driving their own race. But John Stafford is not letting Nico get away that easily as they go through turn number 6 right now. A little bit further back, Mike Anzaldi is still holding on to that third spot as we have Kevin Lockridge still kind of waiting in the wings on him, just trying to look for potentially a good spot to kind of make his move. And while we have a moment here, I'd like to bring in Tom Drewer, one of the representatives from Radical here, who's been kind enough to join us here in the booth here at Audubon Country Club. Tom, pleasure to have you here, and welcome to Audubon.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I mean, first of all, congratulations with your big news this week. And what a day to be out here at Autobahn. Of course, the sun's shining. Plenty of competition in the Radical Cup Challenge, the newly rebranded Autobahn Radical Cup Challenge presented by Team Stradale. But it's quite fitting, I think, that we see the young guns and older guys giving it their all. People like Evan Cooley, when you yourself started racing here at Autobahn in the Radicals, and now you're looking at your first drive in Indy Next.
Well, I appreciate you, Tom. Giving me the congratulations and everything. It's definitely a big step up for me. Thinking a couple of years back, I was in Evan Cooley's shoes or in these guys' shoes out here running around this track as well. So I still do from time to time, but it was definitely, it's going to be an eye-opening experience for me, and I'm privileged enough to be able to, work as hard as I have been able to and get the opportunity that I'm going to be able to have down at Indy Next. As we have a car that's off, that looks like Evan Cooley, actually. Speaking of the devil.
Yeah, the curse of the commentators there, and I was just actually about to pick up on the fact that Mike Anzaldi's having a strong run, and of course last week at Barber, Mike Anzaldi had a fantastic run, as did another Autobahn member, PJ Hyatt.
Yep.
Some of these guys a little bit behind you guys at the top of the Pro 1500 pack, but really putting on a show, and it just seems that as I will say young guns with you at the front and the others like D. Orlando elevating the pace in Radical Cup competition on a national level, but others finding the way through and finding that speed when they need to as well. And Zaldi's a good example of that, obviously doing a solid job here in this race as well.
Well, that's one of the cool traits that we have here at Audubon is that, we're basically open 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday. So we can take a lot of time to kind of come on track, a lot of days throughout the course of the whole year to just kind of hone our craft, use the track time that you don't really get at most tracks. You have to set up for a track day, you have to rent the track day out, and then you got to hope that the weather's good in order to get that track time. Whereas here, when you get a membership, you have 6 days to kind of go on track a week, and you can use that to your advantage to maybe be on track for, let's say, an hour and 40 minutes a day. So if you use that over a course of 6 days of a week, you're looking at potentially 7 to 8 hours work of track time for a week if you have the time and money to be able to do it. So guys like myself, Evan Cooley, Christian Weir, who's another one here who's been through the Radical Paddock as well, have been able to elevate our skills and have been able to do it at such a rapid rate that most kids or most guys won't be able to do it.
Speaking of rapid rate, it looks like further back there, just behind the likes of there's a pass into the chicane.
That was Evan Cooley, I believe, on the inside, and I believe that was Alone Kim who went to the inside of into turn 11. So Evan Cooley, he knows he messed up and had a mistake here. So I myself have been in this position where I messed up on the Radical stage as well, and you kind of get a little bit of the red mist that goes on, but you also kind of get a little bit of aggressive driving that comes into it because you want to make back up what you just lost. So Evan Cooley being very aggressive right now. He's going to look to the inside of Kevin Lockridge as they go into turn number 16. Clean, easy pass. Evan Cooley promoted him to another spot. He's back up to P3 on the podium.
Yeah, Cooley now will hunt down Mike Anzaldi. So that'll be interesting because Mike obviously extremely good, an old dog with a lot of tricks, if you like, and now has Evan Cooley, the young gun with plenty of speed, who will be reeling him in as they come onto this front straightaway and down into turn 1.
All these cars have been able to be really well done by one of our shops here on property, and that has been Team Stradale. They've been able to partner up with Rhino Racing a little bit, throughout the course of this year. So that's helped Mike Gonzalez a lot, but also it's brought new life here at Autobahn to get drivers to go race in the Radical Cup field. I would say Rhino Racing with Team Stradale has kind of come into the fold, especially in the 1340 class. Like you mentioned, PJ Hyatt was able to come away with the win out at Barber Motorsports Park this past weekend.
Yeah, it was a big weekend too, wasn't it, in the Platinum class, because we had Mackay Stevens, of course, a long-time coach out here with Team Stradale, also representing Autobahn extremely well. Came away with a couple of wins in the Platinum class in the high-horsepowered SR10s, and that was really as a result of the opportunity that was given to him by Ben Blander as we had that pass there. So that was Cooley going through on Anzaldi. Anzaldi looking pretty racy, though, looking to come back on him.
Anzaldi was pretty going into this. I actually had a chance to speak with him last night, and he asked me how many guys were racing, and I gave him the list of guys who were actually racing, and I said, you know what, if you actually put your head down and actually drive like the race of your life, you have a shot at actually winning this race. And he's just proven that right now, to where he basically started from last on the grid, came all the way up to the front, basically was just in a P2 spot just a minute ago. All he had to do was just kind of go catch Ben Blander, who's kind of taken his skill up another level with all the track time he's done here. I could confidently say this, Ben Blander has probably put in the most work out of anybody I've seen out here in a Radical car as of late. Anytime it's raining, you can expect Ben Blander out here. Anytime it's sunny, you can expect Ben Blander out here. So Ben has been putting in a ton of work in the Radical, and it's kind of truly paying off not only here at the club, but in the national stage as well.
Absolutely, and with 7 laps remaining, you just got to wonder now whether Cooley, perhaps Anzaldi as well, can reel in Blander, who might be on a little bit of cruise control. He's certainly got quite the lead. Was obviously released by Cooley when he had that moment all by himself. And we've really got to wait and see what happens. But there's plenty of time for the likes of Mike Anzaldi, Cooley to come up and try and eclipse Ben Blander for the lead of the Radical Cup Challenge class.
Yes, we are. We have about 6 laps to go now, so barely even halfway through this race. And Ben Blander obviously just turning his fastest lap of the race with a 2:24.6. But Cooley just comes back and goes a half second faster that last lap. So even with the pass on Mike Gonzalez, Cooley is now starting to run down Ben Blander half a second the last lap. It could potentially be a couple laps here before we see those two going at it again.
Meanwhile, John Stafford's just gone quick, hasn't he, with a 2:20.032. In fact, that was his best time and just eclipsed Nico Caravidi's best time. Great to see those guys, of course, long-time Radical competitors as well, trying it up in something slightly different, similar format with a big wings and slicks car, plenty of downforce on those Wolves, and running nose to tail, putting on a good show.
Yeah, and they definitely are. These guys have been in lockstep formation throughout the course of the race, having hard to get away from each other, I would say. As one of them looks like they're having a problem, that might be the zero of Nico Caravidius.
It looks like it might have actually had an engine failure or something. Yeah, that's huge smoke, big smoke out the back of the Wolf, and that's done and dusted. That car's blown up. So the wolf is no more, and that means some of the radicals, I imagine, are going to come second, third, fourth overall.
That's going to be lots of oil that could be laying down there, potentially a lot of oil that could potentially be going through these cars. The guys are going to have to be very careful with all the low grip that could potentially be having. But like you said, Nico is going to kind of pull off to the right side of the racetrack here at 13, but that car has gone up in smoke.
Well, I was just wondering whether that might bring out a safety car, but he's done the right thing, pulling off in the little cut through there. Unfortunately for him, that's game, set, and match. But I just wondered whether that might give us the opportunity for Evan Cooley and Mike Anzaldi to close further on Ben Blander. We'll see what happens here.
It all depended on actually how Ben Blander was approaching that situation. Was he going to be very cautious, knowing that there potentially could be a lot of oil on the track with that engine blowing up? Good thing for sure was Nico was kind of offline, so it kind of let a lot of oil be off the racing path that was the case. But now we're starting to see Cooley start to bring his way back in. But Kevin Lockridge already starting to close the gap back up on Mike Anzaldi.
Yeah, and Lockridge is really impressing me today. I haven't seen much of Kevin in a car. Of course, I think he only bought a Radical last year, and already to be on the back end of Mike Anzaldi is no mean feat. And Saudi's certainly pretty impressive in the Radical. And here they are, and you could see Kevin having a bit of a look to the outside into turn one.
Kevin has a pretty good racing background as well. I was talking with him as of all last year into this year. You know, Kevin has shifter card experience as well, so he's really well driving a shifter, but he also has raced quite a few races here in the Spec Miata series as well. So Kevin Lockridge has been really good at racing here around the Autobahn. Not really much to race in the Radical, but he's getting his time now against Mike Anzaldi.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anzaldi, of course, I think he's in an RSX. Kevin is in an XX, so the slightly newer car, slightly quicker. And then, of course, you've got Kevin asking today what an XXR is like. Well, tell us about that, Jordan, because you know all about that one.
Well, I honestly have had the fortunate part to be able to drive both an RSX and the XXR now. So, you know, the new Halo system that Radical has implemented is probably the biggest change between the RSX and the XXR, and it just gives you that safety feature as Mike Anzaldi kind of makes a little mistake. Lockridge looking to the inside. He's still side by side there. They're going to go through turn number 10. Anzaldi gets the spot. Lockridge's going to try to take the cutback, and they're going to try to go side by side down the back straightaway. Who's going to have the ponies behind them going into 11?
And this is going to be a three-way fight now as they come down into the heavy braking zone here. Anzaldi ahead, a bit more confident on the brakes, and quite a late lunge there as well.
That was Alone Kim trying as much as he can. You know, he's very new to racing as well. You know, Alone Kim really dipping his toe into racing for the first time. So this is great on-track action, a great experience for him to be experiencing right here. But Kevin Lockridge had quite a bit of a go there to the inside. Just wasn't confident enough on the brakes to get to the outside of Anzaldi. But I tell you what, he's more confident in the high-speed corners.
Yeah, it looks like Anzaldi's just got, as you mentioned, just a little bit more confidence under the brakes. Kevin looks extremely racy around the high-speed sections of this circuit. And Anzaldi just doesn't quite look comfortable, does he? He just looks like perhaps he's not happy with the setup of the car, whatever it is, but he just looks a little rattled now as this green and black machine fills the mirrors as they come around to start another one.
Well, I will say it is quite different going from car to car. You know, Anzaldi's going from a 1340 here that he has on property. He has the 1500 that he goes, the XXR that he races in the Radical Cup Series. So to kind of be going back from car to car, you kind of expect the setups to be somewhat similar, but with two different types of cars, no cars are somewhat the same. So to have Mike Anzaldi kind of be going back and forth, but like I was mentioning with the XXR himself, you know, that car has a little bit more of a crispier shifts that kind of go with it, whereas the RSX potentially could be a little bit more of a little bit sluggish on the shifts.
Well, you mentioned as well the 1340 platform, and for those that don't quite understand the difference, 1340 refers to the CCs of the engine.
Yep.
Of course, that's typically the standard Suzuki platform is 1340 cc's, and of course the Radical uses a brand new Suzuki engine that's completely rebuilt in England, but the 1500 cc's got a bit more legs, and I think why this car has been so good for the likes of you, others that have come through the Radical ranks here at Autobahn, is because you learn momentum, don't you? It's a downforce car, but you've still got to carry the road speed that's so critical. as you move up through higher horsepower machinery.
Yep, you and me were talking about this morning when we arrived here on property. You know, we wanted to make Radical more of like a feeder series, and it's a perfect series to get involved in because, one, when you're looking at a budget from a regular series, it's very low cost and effective to where it's not going to break your bank. The number two area is that the cars have wings and the cars are producing downforce. So when you do get tucked up behind a car, kind of like what we're seeing there with the low kib, you get pushed out wide a little bit there. Thank you, Alone, for demonstration. But you get the aero wash sets. And when some of these kids who are coming through like the junior Formula careers like USF Juniors, USF 2000s, or F1600, they're all running with mechanical grip. Here at the Radicals, you're dealing both mechanical and aero grip, which I think is why it's a perfect platform for young kids who are coming out of karting to learn how to drive a downforce car, but also a car that has a lot of aero grip and mechanical grip, so it actually enhances your racing craft as a driver.
Well, not to mention the car, but the circuit as well is so good for that too. Autobahn, I was lucky enough to do a lap earlier in the day, and just reminded me of this great circuit because it's got such a mix of medium to high-speed corners. You're starting to lean on the downforce in certain areas of the track. Other areas you get back onto the mechanical grip. So it's a really good training tool, this circuit, to produce drivers that are very well rounded and of course can go from a circuit like this to Barber last weekend, or of course to Road America in a couple of weeks time where we'll be again with IndyCar.
Not to mention too, the same guy who developed Barber and designed Barber is actually the same guy who designed Autobahn here, so it's actually a perfect fit in that, and it's a perfect design for these Radicals because like you mentioned, you know, with this car you can experience all types of corners around this place, from a high-speed corner to low-speed corner, corners that you have to be patient on throttle, and especially turn 4 right here. These cars, it's going downhill into an uphill embankment where you're taking it basically flat out all the way through fourth gear at about 115 to 120 miles an hour, basically pegged almost on the limiter at 10,000 RPM, and you have to use all the racetrack in order to get the corner properly right. But these guys right here, you know, when it's pegged out like that, you feel like an F1 driver because you're just feeling all the downforce, all the G-force that the Radical has to offer. And the biggest thing is you're going into the corner from a novice perspective, you think, oh, he's certainly going to have to brake or he's certainly going to have to lay off the corner. You could stay in the throttle and the Radical is going to hold it. And that's what makes the car magnificent the way it is.
Yeah, it certainly is. And speaking of reasonably magnificent, John Stafford's doing a sterling job out there all by his lonesome, but he really is placing that car well, and we can see the lead that he's stretched out. It'd be interesting to pick up where Ben Blander is in the 34 machine. Of course, he's running first in the Radical Cup Challenge presented by Team Stradale, and I just want to try and pick up the gap. It's not too bad, is it? 5 seconds for Evan Cooley now.
He has cut into that margin, but like we mentioned, too, a couple laps ago, it's been about a half second per lap. So Cooley continued to put in his fastest laps of the race, whereas Ben Blander has kind of leveled off a little bit. He's only done a tenth slower than his fastest lap, but Evan Cooley continued to put in those fast laps that we expected him to do, has closed the gap down up to about 5.4, but still has quite a bit of time left to do, but he's running out of time as the race goes on. We're down to 2 laps to go. Blander has now just put in his fastest lap of the race. Cooley goes on by. He puts in his fastest lap of the race, and he gains even more time on Ben Blander.
I was going to say, I think Ben Blander's probably been, the curse of seeing another car with a big blow-up like that. All of a sudden you start hearing every little noise, every little creak and groan in that engine, the chassis, whatever. Ben's probably been just resting, thinking, I'll short shift, I'll just baby this thing. I've seen another competitor go out. Of course, Cooley's got the bit between his teeth. He's going for it. He can start to see Blander in his midst, and I think Blander's just looked in the mirror and said, hang on, I've got to put the hammer down again.
It's tough to stop a young kid who sees a victory in his sight right in front of him to just say, I gotta take it easy, right? He's gonna be going for it. And with now you can see Cooley has Ben Blander in his sights with about almost a lap and a half to go. It's gonna come down to the wire here. Ben's gonna have to be on his game if he wants to hold off this win.
And this is a long racetrack. There's lots of corners. There's lots of little areas where you can make a little mistake, lose a tenth or two. Of course, those tenths just in one corner can extend down the straightaway, can become more and more, half a second, and all of a sudden your competitor's closing in and you're feeling the pressure even more. So What is it like, Jordan? You're the master around here. How do you contain yourself? How do you keep the focus and just power down, hammer down for the last 2 laps when you're in the lead?
Simply, you just got to drive your own race car in this sense. You can't drive Ben Blander's car if you're Evan Cooley in this position. You can only worry about yourself, and you got to hit your marks and hit them just like every other lap you've been doing. Resist from wanting to overdrive. It's easy to want to do with these cars. It's easy to want to do at this track, but you have to resist the urge to do it. You mentioned it's a 3.56 mile track, 19 corners. If you go a tenth faster in each corner, it's about 2 seconds per. It's 2 seconds per lap. That would be about half the distance that Evan Cooley would have to get. White flag is now out to be displayed. John Stafford has just come across the line to complete that. We're going to see Ben Blander come out of turn number 18 and 19 here in just a minute. They're all going to see the white flag. Blander now out the final corner, going to see the white flag for the one time. Cooley going to be right behind him, interested to see what the gap is when they come across the line for the final time.
Yeah, and Blander's just gone through. Last time was a 2:22.9. Cooley's eclipsed that yet again, a 2:22.3, so another 0.6 taken out.
But I did see through turn number 11, Cooley was kind of pushing the brake zone a little bit, tried to get every ounce of that car in that brake zone a little bit, ended up overshooting the brake zone a little bit as he lost a little bit of time. Again, it was another half-second game, but it's not going to be enough if he wants to get Ben Blander in time.
And speaking of battles, Mike Anzaldi's still got Kevin Laffridge just behind him. Kevin is looking racy yet again. He's got one more lap to do it. What can he do on the number 61 of Mike Anzaldi?
Laffridge just broke into the 24-second bracket with a 2:24.9. Anzaldi was a 2:24.4, so a half-second gain by Kevin Lockridge. It's pulled him within 0.3 of Mike Anzaldi. So the two competitors right there of Mike Anzaldi and Kevin Lockridge going to be going to battle here toe-to-toe for the final step on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Stafford, beautiful shots of him coming through this stunning racetrack for the final tour of Autobahn Country Club. The sunshine's been out. It's been a beautiful day here for all the members racing. We've had some great action in the GT class. Of course, we've got the Miatas as well out here. The Wings and Things and the Radicals putting on a show. And Stafford just absolutely picture perfect as he comes around here for the final time.
He looks like he's on a nice little Sunday driver on a perfect Autobahn Country Club that we have here. So Stafford going to come around the final couple of corners through turn number 17 and through turn 18 and 19 for the final time. He'll come onto the front straightaway, pick his head up, and look to the starter stand where Chris will be having the twin checkers out. Flying in the air, John Stafford going to come across the line, and he will win the Wings and Things by coming to basically a complete stop in front of the starter stand. Gives a little bit of a wave to the flag stand as he comes across the line. But now our attention will look a little bit further back between Ben Blander and Evan Cooley as they come around the final couple of corners. We're going to see who's going to be out in front between the two battles as they come out the final corner. Ben Blander going to come across the line. He's going to win the Radical Cup Challenge presented by Team Stradale. Evan Cooley going to come home in second, and now our focus falls on the final battle for the podium spot.
Yeah, and I've been waiting with anticipation to see who would be in front here. At the moment, it is Mike Anzaldi over Kevin Laffridge, and Anzaldi seems to have his match for the moment. The checker flag is flying. Anzaldi covers as he comes to the line, and he takes third place.
Zaldi coming back from the back of the grid, missed qualifying, comes from 7th on the grid to finish 3rd on the podium, and rounds out that podium spot, and he runs his fastest lap of the race as well as Alone Kim comes across the start-finish line. John Mikulski will finish up in 6th, and to come home in 7th will be the Francesco Davila in the 7:34:38. So we got John Stafford who takes the win. Ben Blander takes the win in Radical Cup. Evan Cooley comes home in 2nd, Mike Gonzalez 3rd, Kevin Lockridge in 4th, and Alone Kim actually comes home in 5th to finish off the top 5 for the Radical Cup Series presented by Team Stradale.
Very, very impressive with Kevin Lockridge and Along Kim too, who was really mixing it up there but with Mike Anzaldi and Kevin for a while, and both of them putting in a strong performance at the end of that one.
It's definitely what we like to see here at the Autobahn, especially a lot hard racing, a lot of tough battles that we've been able to see between Mike Anzaldi and Kevin Lockridge. Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to convince him to come join the tour with us up on the National Series. He'd be giving the lads a run for his money.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to having you back in the National Radical Cup Series at Road America in a few weeks' time. But let's just, while we've got you, let's talk a little bit more about what you're about to jump into and the challenge that you've got laying ahead. I know you've got a big grin on your face, so let's talk about this. Indy Next Car, Able Motorsports.
Yeah, it's hard to hide the grin, I'll say. It's a dream come true type of moment for me, but it's one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series, and it's a chance for me to kind of, get the feet wet in that sense, show where I feel like I truly belong in, and, get that opportunity to go race in front of the stars of IndyCar at a wonderful place like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and a team like Able Motorsports who are going to be, who have done a really good job, put on an Indy 500 entry just this past year. So a team that has a lot of pedigree and a lot of talent, and definitely looking forward to kind of getting part of that and see what we can do down in Indianapolis.
Now, you cut your teeth out here.
Yep.
Went on to the National Radical Cup. Did very, very well on the national stage, and then went to the USF Series, the Road to Indy as it was known then. You've come back to Radical Cup. Now, how crucial has it been for you this year to do that, and what has it been like running with a team with the pedigree of Graham Rahal Performance?
Well, that has been a truly an undertaking, and as for a team as a whole, it was a brand new team that Graham Rahal announced at the PRI show just last year. So definitely was something when it was first on my radar. As soon as it was announced, I had to figure out how do I get on that team. So I immediately messaged Graham that night saying, what do I need to do to get on that team? And just through conversation and talks with him, he obviously knew who I was coming into the fold. We've talked about my previous Radical experience and how that's kind of developed me into who I would become the driver now today. So, coming into the fold of Graham Rahal Performance, a very brand new team that almost had no experience in the Radical Cup field, able to come into Sebring just on one test day and to basically kind of do a clean sweep down at Sebring International Raceway kind of just shows the pedigree that what Graham Rahal Performance and what is expected out of Graham Rahal Performance for the rest of this year to come.
Yeah, well, certainly you've proved the point in Radical Cup. I know you're chasing a championship in that, but obviously the new challenge, Indy Next. Best of luck from everyone here at Autobahn, from everyone at Radical. We can't wait to see what you do on track. Enjoy it, whatever happens. And, of course, we'll see you back at Road America. But I think, just to wrap up here, the other thing, of course, is that you are an instructor with the Autobahn Academy. So for someone that wants to get into the sport, doesn't quite know how, maybe has watched the live stream.
There's a way to get in it. We have instruction. We have programs put into place. So if you ever want to come out here, as we want to do for our driver academy, we have our new GR86s that you see on screen there. We also have our new Toyota GR86 or street car for anybody who doesn't know how to drive manual and wants to get to know how to drive on a racetrack. We're able to offer that as well as our Spec Miatas, which are probably one of the more easier cars to kind of get into, understand to drive here on a racetrack. Manual shifting as well, that comes with it too. So you'll be able to learn the H pattern, and we can teach you how to drive manual out here as well. But the biggest thing is, in this sense, we could basically take a driver off the street who has never driven a car before or has never driven on a racetrack before, and we could turn you into a world-class racer around here, whether you want to race in our member racing series out here that you just saw, or if you want to go on the road and race in an SCCA series, USAC series, Radical Cup series, Porsche Sprint Challenge, any of the series you want to go into, we can groom you and train you into a driver you want to be through our Autobahn Driver Academy, through our different steps of programs that we have, as well as our personal curriculum program that we could throw you through. Everybody is a different driver, but we can title a program towards you in that sense. But just like that, has been able to groom multiple drivers into going into national series and racing in series above and beyond here that the club has to offer.
Yeah, well, you're obviously a great example of that. I also believe that the Radicals are going to be a part of the Autobahn Drivers Academy very, very soon. So that's exciting for anyone that wants to get a taste of high downforce prototype race car and step into your shoes for a moment. So excellent. Well, that was fun calling that with you, Jordan, and it's been great to be out here at Autobahn supporting all of the local Radical races, and we look forward to having a number of them of course, and yourself out at Road America in a couple of weeks' time.
So I appreciate that, Tom, but there's one more thing I will get to as well before we end off our conversation. Let's talk about the Radical Cup as well. You know, we've obviously talked about the National Series as well, but Radical has introduced a couple years ago the World Finals action that they've done. So obviously Spring Mountain was one of the racetracks that you guys went to for the first year. You guys went to Portimao this last year. Now you guys have on the docket to go to Yas Marina Circuit. How's that going to feel like?
It's fantastic. I mean, to bring drivers from all around the world together. Of course, Radical is one of the only manufacturers outside of the sort of big three, the typical three, if you like, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari, to have Cup Series on multiple continents throughout the world. And we're delighted to be able to bring everyone together. It was such an awesome event out at Spring Mountain. Las Vegas being the backdrop, then of course at Portimao, Portugal providing this stunning European seaside town, and now we're off to the Middle East and a big contingent of cars in the Middle East. A lot of people don't realize that, so there's already some really strong locals, a lot of expats too, and we're expecting a lot of Americans to join, Europeans, English, Australians, all sorts to come over. And I know Jack Yang's already very, very keen. A couple of others too. Jim Booth. Who else am I forgetting? But there's quite a few people that are going to be heading over from the Radical Cup North America Series and joining those guys. And, of course, anyone that participates in the Autobahn Radical Cup Challenge is also eligible to compete in the World Finals.
And I'll also bring up one more point, too, that I forgot to mention, and you probably forgot to mention as well. It's just, other than, the affordability of what the Radical Series provides, and, we get to go to these iconic tracks every year. We've already mentioned, we get to go to 4 races with IndyCar on the schedule for this year. But it's just the amount of track time. I looked at the schedule for Road America. We have 3 50-minute test sessions, before we even get to the practice weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what we try and do. Look, it's all about providing great opportunities for people to be a part of these big bucket list weekends. Bucket list track in Road America. I mean, that's got to be one of the top 5 circuits on this continent, let alone the world. The IndyCar atmosphere is always electric up there. It's my favorite event of the year. It seems like all of Wisconsin is out there to have a good time and party. So, to be able to enjoy your motorsport, get out there, just slowly get up to speed. There's no pressure through that test day. Lots of opportunity to learn the circuit, relearn machinery for some. And, of course, it provides a really good opportunity for people that do the series out here at Autobahn, or perhaps they do a little bit of SECA racing locally or NASA racing, whatever it is, to come in to the Cup Series, experience the big time for a weekend, and try their luck against the likes of you. So that's what Radical Cup's all about. It really is a case of really fostering new talent at clubs like this across the country, and then developing drivers that can go on within the Radical community to go and tick off the bucket list around North America, around the world with our Race the World program, and then, of course, step up to other things like you're doing.
Yep, absolutely. And I appreciate you, Tom, all the kind of words that you've been able to do from a Radical representative, as well as all the times we've had at the national level of races, whether it's been here or at the bucket list tracks that we go to. I appreciate, everybody here appreciates all of you done for Radical and what you've done here for Team Stradale and the Audubon Country Club as a Radical person. So we appreciate and thank you for what you've been able to do for us.
Well, cheers, mate. Look, it's great, again, to be out here, and it's a pleasure to join you in the commentary booth as well. I didn't realize, mate, you can talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles. So I think I'm out of another job. So there you go.
I'll let you keep that one for sure. That one's out of mine. I'd rather stay in the race seat than be in the commentary booth talking my head off. But nonetheless, appreciate you having up here with us, and thank you for being alongside me to commentate this race. For everyone else who has been able to watch this race, that concludes race number 2. We got one more race coming up later this afternoon. It's going to be our Spec Miata series. Our main event is coming up next here at the Audubon Country Club.
So in terms of like what Mike's using for race control, is that also what's being used?
Yep. So the camera system that's being used there is being used here. We just have one screen that shows live and everything. There are some cameras that they have for like security wise that they can show. Yep. So they have like these little joysticks up there that stream that they can flip between camera to camera.
Lexus. Our motto is you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
Welcome to Kart Circuit Audubon, home of the best arrive and drive karting in the Chicagoland area. This is our brand new fleet of CRG Centurion rental karts that go 50 miles an hour. They're fast, fun, and safe. They are also built for the driver that has the need for speed. Come on out and show us what you got.
We're here at the acclaimed Daytona International Speedway to show the Blazer EVSS in a way it's never been seen. It's beautiful with a sleek and dynamic design, but performance is in our DNA. And what better way to put the Blazer EVSS to the paces than having Team Chevy NASCAR drivers Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain get behind the wheel.
She looks fast.
Sure does.
You want to see what she's got?
Let's go.
All right. Yoo!
This is a Blazer EVSS. Let's see what Wild Mode can do.
Let's go. Yes! So much torque.
This is what performance sounds like.
What a ride. You think the Cup car will be that smooth? My turn to drive.
From 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Experience the sound of performance.
Yeah, I was definitely faster than Daniel.
In motorsports, a driver has to be at peak performance the moment they put on their helmet. There's no compromises, no room for error, and definitely no excuses. That's why Audubon is excited to announce our latest series called Time Attack. On Sundays of festival weekends, members are invited to bring their street legal, unmodified cars to compete for timed laps around our 3.5-mile road course. What is Time Attack? It's a single car, one lap test of a driver's ability to push their vehicle to the absolute limits against the clock in order to achieve the fastest lap possible. We have two classes, cars under 300 horsepower and over 300 horsepower. But it's not just about raw power, it's the combination of driver skill and performance. That's it. You need to lay it all on the line for that one perfect lap. Can you perform under that pressure? Do you have what it takes to become Audubon's first Time Attack champion?
Defying nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
In motorsports, a driver has to be at peak performance the moment they put on their helmet. There's no compromises, no room for error, and definitely no excuses. That's why Autobahn is excited to announce our latest series called Time Attack. On Sundays of festival weekends, members are invited to bring their street-legal, unmodified cars to compete for timed laps around our 3.5-mile road course. What is Time Attack? It's a single car, one lap test of a driver's ability to push their vehicle to the absolute limits against the clock in order to achieve the fastest lap possible. We have 2 classes, cars under 300 horsepower and over 300 horsepower. But it's not just about raw power, it's the combination of driver skill and performance. That's it. You need to lay it all on the line for that one perfect lap. Can you perform under that pressure? Do you have what it takes to become Autobahn's first Time Attack champion?
Races down, 1 race left to go here, Shelton. We welcome you back to the booth here with us. We've had a plethora of racing action that's happened today from both the GT Challenge race and the Radical race. Your first time being up in the booth. What are your thoughts on the day so far?
Yeah, it's been very great racing from both Radicals and the GT field, and I hope that we can get the same for the Spec Miata field as well. We have over 30 drivers participating in this race, so it's definitely going to be a lot of action on track.
Well, we're expecting, obviously the Spec Miata field is probably one of the more competitive fields, if not definitely the most, cars that we'll have on the grid there. As you can see, our 30 Miata stroked up 2x2, ready to go for action here. And we just have like a plethora of drivers that are good, that we think could be really good in this race. We just have, it's going to be like a huge go-kart race that we always see out here. It provides a ton of action, a ton of moves that are already being made. It's hard to keep track of sometimes because not only there's so many cars, but there's just so much action that's happening around the whole racing circuit.
Yeah, it's like you got to keep your head on a swivel watching this race. 'Cause so much action, so many battles. It's just definitely going to be a great series to watch all year.
So we'll go ahead and start going from the back of the order to the front in the order with the starting grid here before we get things going. The number 222 of Matt Sirotek was going to run shotgun on the field as the 1 minute call was given to all the drivers to fire out the motors as we get ready to go racing. Matt Sirotek is going to go shotgun on the field in the 32nd spot. Bruce Malter in the 427 is going to roll off 31st. Gary Traverso in the number 30 position, with Bill Hamill to his inside in the 29th in the number 9 car. John Milovac in the 167 will roll off 28th, with Gene Jodowain going to be rounding out in the 27th spot. The number 808 of Bob Riesinger going to be in the 26th position. In the 25th spot is going to be the 98 of Aiden Quirlin. We're going to be looking in the 24th spot. That's going to be Chris DeMuzio. Alongside him is the 84 of Steve Stadolski. Tom Bagley is going to be rolling off in roll number 11 with the number 3 car. Alongside him, the number 100 of Jason Greenwood. Row number 10 is the 97 of John Sutherland to his inside. It's going to be the number 4 of Kevin Lockridge, who just came off a fantastic battle against Mike Gonzaldi in the Radical Cup race that we just saw a minute ago. Row number 18, row number 8 is going to be Jeff Newman. Row number 9 is going to be Jeff Newman, the 229, and the number 25 of Dave Hicks. He'll roll off 17th. Row number position 16 is going to be the number 1 of Alan Zocker, and alongside him is going to be the number 14 of Alex Bertinelli, last year's Spec MX5 champion as well for the SCCA runoffs. 14th spot's going to be Art Zeismer, who's going to roll off in roll number 7, along with Mark Stadolski next to him in number 83. He's going to be qualified second for SM2, by the way. Alan Zolcher starting third in SM2. Luke Satterfield, number 12, is going to roll off on the outside of row number 6 with the 101 of Kevin Ballard on the inside in the 101 machine. Row number 5, we're going to be going to Greg Sorg, who rounds out the top 10, with Scott Bowman going to be lining up 9th. Scott Ballard in the 8th spot in the number 190. And our pole sitter for SM2, it's going to be number 27 of Sean Bonet, hoping to have a better race this time out than he did in the first race a couple weeks ago. Row number 3, it's going to be the number 51 of Gavin Gleitzman, the rookie sensation who came off of SM2, is now going into SM this year. He'll roll off 6th. Ethan Tyler, who had a little bit of trouble in qualifying, but sounds like he could have had a wheel hub issue or a wheel bearing issue that brought out a black flag in qualifying halfway through the session. He'll roll off in the 5th spot after he put in a good time of 2:49.306. Row number 2, it's going to be the number 69 of Jake Malter. He'll roll off in the 4th spot alongside Mike Bernardi, who's going to be to his inside in the number 8 machine, the red 8. We got the front row. We have 32 starters, 2 on the front row. It's going to be the number 60 of Taro Kushida, who rides on the outside of the pole position. And our pole sitter is going to be the 157 of Matt Alexander with a qualifying time of 2 minutes 48.235. Was able to elapse Taro Kushida for the pole position by just over a tenth of a second.
Yeah, these two are going to have a fantastic race today. And hopefully they'll give us a fantastic battle, too, all the way through the race.
Everybody in the top 5 right now has a true shot of winning this race, I would say. You could pick one of those 5 and you could throw them in a hat. Anybody could win. Would be the Matt Alexander, Taro Kushida, Mike Bernardi, Jake Malter, Ethan Tyler. You could look a little bit further back, potentially, at Alex Bertignoli, who's starting at the 15th spot. He could be a favorite to come through this field. You can also look at the number in the 10th position, the number 71 of Greg Sorg. He's another guy who potentially could work his way up through this field as well. Sean Bonet, as we mentioned, he's going to be the pole sitter for SM2. He's starting in the 7th position, has quite an advantage over the second place starter in SM2. That's going to be Mark Stadolski, who starts in the 13th spot. So like we have here in Spec Miata, we basically have everyone in the field is going to be clumped together. together. Normally when we do the north and south races, we have everybody separated, but because of its full track, we have everyone starting together all at once in that sense. In the last second, we'd like to thank our sponsors for today's broadcast as well before we get things underway. Cutting Edge Graphics and First Bank Card Processing sponsoring the SM and SM2 field here for our today's broadcast. And we also like to thank our helping out with this broadcast and its Signature Sign production and everything, as they like to help us, Signature Production Group, as they like to help us with the broadcast here. If it wasn't for them, we definitely would not be able to put this broadcast make possible for you guys. So thank you to Signature Production Group for all they've done to help us with this camera work and everything. And, of course, the drone shots that we're able to see today and our Sentinel camera onboards as well. The Sentinel camera onboards have been able to give us a great in-car view of what the on-track action has been like all afternoon. So thank you to Sentinel for helping us with our in-car cameras to give us all the great pictures that we have seen today. Shelton, we're about just under a half a lap away, about a quarter lap away from going green. What can we expect in this race?
Ooh, hopefully not too much chaos, but it will be a lot of chaos in the first lap. A driver's going to try to get themselves sorted out and, get a rhythm going, and then hopefully start making their way towards.
So one thing I just noticed, too, with the hot weather and the hot temperatures that have happened, we've started to see a little bit of water kind of seeping through the track, a little bit of weepers that are going to be coming in. How do the weepers kind of play into the fact of what this race situation could be like, especially with dry tires?
Now, you have to watch out for those, too, because once you have those tires up to temperature and you run over that wet spot, that temperature just dwindles down, and you won't have that same grip that you did last corner.
Not to mention the slight bit loss of traction that you can get with the mid-corner turn as well. A little bit of looseness action with the rear as it comes through. Pace car has ducked down to the safety of pit road and has leashed these cars, a 32 strong Spec Miatas, into the hands of Matt Alexander and Taro Kishida. Field now rolls off of the final corner of turn number 19. Back half of the field catching up to the rest of the field. Nice side-by-side, 2x2 field. Orderly strong coming down the front straightaway. Chris the flagman up in the starter stand. Getting away, looks in the field. Everything looks good. Green flag is out. We're racing at Spec Miata here for Autobahn Springtime Speedfest. And Mike Bernardi going to get a huge jump to the inside.
And he backs out of it just to slip back in. But that was a great start from him.
Mike Bernardi thought of it for just turn one. Thought that the race would go on for much more longer than he wanted to in that sense. Matt Alexander gets away with the race lead. Taro Kishida in second. Bernardi going to switch back to the inside of Taro Kishida.
And it looks like Bernardi's going to let this stick all the way through turn 3.
A little bit three-wide action, a little bit further back. That looks like Alex Bertinoli trying to run right that outside around some of the SM2 competitors. It looks like he's going to go side-by-side with Alan Zocker through turn number 3. Matt Alexander now trying to pull away. Ethan Tyler has lost a couple of spots, maybe there. A couple of cars looking 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide to the inside of turn number 4.
Going 4 wide in turn number 4 is really, really risky, especially on lap 1.
That's
we got a car going off.
One car dropping wheels. That's the 51 of Gavin Gleitzman, who takes on our Sentinel onboard camera. We're going to go on board with him right on the back of Ethan Tyler. That looks like the 190 of Kevin Ballard, who's right behind him. Excuse me, that's Scott Ballard. That's behind the number 51 of Gavin Gleitzman, who's carrying on the Sentinel onboard camera. Ballard going to look to the inside of Gleitzman. Gets a little loose on the entry to turn number 8. Able to hold on to it for the 6th spot.
Yeah, you don't want to go off track that early in the race, especially on cold tires and then packed just close together like this.
He's sideways, losing it a little bit. He almost goes off the racetrack, able to catch it. Ballard, though, gets a run. He's going to go to the outside of Gavin Gleitzman. Now he clears Gavin Gleitzman. Gleitzman, ever since he dipped those 2 wheels off the racetrack in turn number 6, has been kind of hanging on to that thing now all the way through. A little bit further back, Luke Satterfield in the number 12 machine with the new paint scheme and livery, trying to make it stick between the other guy who has a new paint scheme.
We have another car going off.
One car going off. That looks like it's the 84 of Mark Stadolski. Sorry, not Mark Stadolski. Steve Stadolski, as a matter of fact. But Alex Bertinoli, also in the new paint scheme that he has, the MX5 Cup champion, has been able to pick up a spot on Luke Satterfield in the number 12 car as they went through turn number 11 and 12. Also, Alex Bertinoli had a mechanical failure in qualifying. That's why he's starting a little bit further back in the field. Nonetheless, it's 15th spot on the grid. So Alex Bertinoli having a little bit of ground that he has to make up through the rest of this field. But he's got the car. He's got the speed. he's going to be able to do it potentially if he can find his and pick his battles properly as he goes through. Alex Zocker losing the car on the exit of turn number 16, but he's able to save it right now. Cars going left and right. Jason Greenwood in the further back to the field, kind of going off the racetrack here. And right now it's just kind of keeping on the blacktop here, boys.
Yeah, they're having a hard time. It could be a couple of factors that's contributing to that. It could be the water rising up from the track, like you were saying, and it could just be cold tires, and everyone's still trying to figure everyone out and try to make positions as quickly as they can in the first 2 laps.
Obviously, everyone's close together, so you try to want to make out the most positions as you possibly can at the initial start of the race because that's the best opportune time to pass. We have a 4-car breakaway towards the front of the field. Matt Alexander continuing to lead the way from Taro Kashida in the SM1 field, and that's Mike Bernardi sitting in second. Jake Malter in third. A little bit further back, we just saw Alex Bertinoli make a pass, looks like on Art Zeismer. Dave Hicks looking to the inside of Alan Zocker further back in the pack. All these guys trying to go for moves here as we got now Kevin Lockridge looking to the inside, and then the outside of Dave Hicks through turn number 3.
Yeah, we still got a 2 wide coming into turn number 4.
That looks like Steve Stadolski in the 83 trying to go to the inside of Kevin Lockridge through turn number 4 there. Stadolski having the better line through the middle part of that corner. Kind of lost it there for a minute. Comes back into our picture. Steve Stadolski able to get the spot off from him. So Moose Stadolski looks like another spot up on the running leaderboard as they come through turn. Actually, no, excuse me. That was Tom Bagley in the number 3 car. A lot of red cars that we see out here. But Tom Bagley in the number 3 was able to make the move. Scott Bowman looking to the inside right now of the number and looking to the inside and gets another pass done through turn number 8. And the field now starting to kind of string itself out. Everyone kind of find themselves into place. But the field right now, the leaders going through turn number 12 onto the link.
All right, now we starting to get into the second stage of the race where everyone's getting to the line, getting to a rhythm. Now we should start seeing a couple of drivers working together to get to the cars ahead.
Yep, now we've all escaped the chaos of the start and kind of have sorted ourselves out a little bit here. Now it's pick and choose your battles. Now the racecraft comes into place. We see the number 12 of Lou Satterfield going defensive on the number 83 of Mark Stadolski. He goes to the outside going into turn number 12, it looks like, or turn number 13.
We have another car coming back onto track after a little off.
One car kind of lost it there a little bit, left the track surface a little bit. That might be the 808 of Bob Riesinger a little bit there. Tough to see him a little bit kind of lose it off the track just a little bit there, but no harm, no foul, was able to get back onto the racing surface. Nonetheless, back up front, it looks like Matt Alexander continued the way, and we start to see different lines that come through here. You start to see a couple guys stay to the outside on the left-hand side to kind of get that run coming down the hill. Other guys, like you're seeing on screen right now, huck it back over to the right-hand side. Kevin Lockridge is another one who runs the wide line. Dave Hicks runs the wide line as well. Everybody else kind of running 3/4 of the track over to the right here on the exit of the track. So lots of different lines, lots of different methods of taking a corner as we come to the exit of turn number 12.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to get the car behind out of their draft.
3 laps have been completed right now, as well as we have 8 laps to go right now in this race. Matt Alexander continues to lead the way, puts up the fastest lap of the race, as we mentioned before. Rest of the field kind of coming through turns 1 and 2. Kevin Lockridge looking to the inside, throwing it to the inside of Tom Bagley. Thinks better of it, though, as they come flashing by the screen. Great shot from our drone view over at the turn 1 field, getting the really weight of the car. And you're really getting to see how much load is lading on that right rear through turn number 1.
We might have a car coming into pits.
One car is on the pit road right now. We'll pick up that number of who it is when they come on the way through. But one car is on the pit road, and one car has decided that is going to be the race for him. Through turn number 5 and 6, the rest of the field comes as the car comes to us, and we'll see it's the number 222. That's going to be Max Rotek, who's coming into pit road right now, trying to figure out what it could be wrong with that issue of the car. Potentially day done for Max Rotek, as we've completed now 2 laps. Back on board with Gavin Gleitzman in the number 56 Food and Fuel car that we've had for this race. Food and Fuel has become a prime sponsor for Gavin Gleitzman. So Gavin has now brought in a new paint scheme. He's done away with that plain old orange scheme, has now brought in this beautiful white and red Food and Fuel number 51 car on board for this race. And, you know, Gavin's now with the second race here in SM2, or excuse me, not SM2, SM, but second race in Spec Miata has really grown into the fold here throughout the past couple of years, putting in a lot of track time, almost on track every time, trying to really get as much track time as he can. He's done tons of sim racing as well. I fortunately have been able to help out Gavin a little bit with some of the NASCAR sim racing that he does in the off-season time. So Gavin has been a really good competitor, not only on the karting side, but he's translated that karting aspect and karting skill into the driving skill here on the big track here in the Spec Miata series. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about this. We talk about karting a lot too. We talked about Kevin Lockridge, who's another driver in this field who's done shifter karting, Gavin Gleitzman, a bunch of other guys who have kind of come out of karting into Spec Miata car racing or even just regular racing. Alex Bertinoli is another one for an example. How much of that karting aspect is translated into the driving aspect here? As we got one car off, that's actually Art Zeismer, so we'll hold that thought for just a minute.
Not to get on track like that.
Yep, he comes back on kind of in the safe manner a little bit, just kind of dropped 2 wheels there on the exit. So as he continues on, let's kind of come back to this. From a karting standpoint, how much of karting, the driving style, translates over into the big car stuff when you get onto a racetrack?
Now, a lot of that really comes from karting. So, I haven't really driven the MX-5, so it compares to the karting a lot. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience, so you may be better expertise in that area.
So yeah, but regarding coming into this, you're dealing a lot with the brake tracing. You're dealing a lot with how the braking aspect of it all comes into play. So it's just kind of manipulating how the brake pedal is used, and it can be used in the karting, but it also understands, the proper lacing line, the proper techniques on how to approach a corner. So when you're seeing all these guys, and most of the guys up front, they're using all the racetrack, whether it's from the apex curb all the way to the track out part of the curbing and using the exit curb there. We have the beautiful drone shot right at the exit curb of turn number 6 here, getting a great shot of all the cars coming out of the corner, speeding all the way into this exit curb here. You really get to learn that in karting of how to use all the racetrack given to you, and then you can apply it here on the big track. So all the racetracks are kind of the same principles are kind of the same, but you're just at a much bigger scale when you come here on the racetrack.
You're absolutely right, Jordan. With the MX-5s, when you compare those to the kart, how much of that are you really actually using, like the weight transfer? How much of a difference is that? Is it much of a difference, or okay? You're
using all of it. Yeah, it's all of it because of all the vehicle dynamics. It's all of how you manipulate it, and this is something that we always teach about in our Autobahn Driver Academy programs that we have here at the club. All of the things that we teach is implemented into the racing aspect, is also implemented into all these drivers. Gavin Gleitzman has been one of the key components who's come through our Autobahn Driver Academy through the karting ranks. There's been a bunch of other guys like Alan Zocker. He's getting private coaching instruction. Bob Riesinger, he's also guys that are also getting coaching as well to understand more about the cars, more about the racing, and more about the aspects of what it's like to drive these Spec Miatas and get to the top level guys as well, so they can be competitive racing for wins and racing for podiums on days like today. We'll go back through the field, kind of do a little bit of a rundown as well. We'll go through our top 10 here. Matt Alexander continues to lead the way with Taro Kishida in second. Mike Bernardi, as you see on screen, battling on the back bumper of Taro Kishida for second spot, I would say. Jake Malter, who lingers right behind all these 3 cars, is run the fastest lap of the race with a 2:49.7, so he's now the fastest car on the racetrack. Ethan Tyler, who had his issue qualifying, has been able to hold his position in P5 right now. Gavin Gleitzman still holds the 6th spot. Greg Sorgan, the 71, runs in 7th. Alex Bertinoli in the 8th spot, so he's jumped up from 15th to 8th. Scott Ballard runs in the 9th spot right now, and Kevin Ballard runs in the 10th spot. Your SM2 battle is further back in the 11th position. That's Sean Bonet. He currently holds that spot with Mark Stodolski in the 2nd position, but 12th on track. Right now, it would be Sean Bonet who holds a 3.7 second lead over Mark Stodolski, but Mark Stodolski just ran the fastest lap of the the race in the SM2 field, 0.3 of a second faster than Sean Bonet. Luke Satterfield will run in the 13th spot. Scott Bowman is in the 14th position. Jeff Newman runs in 15th in the 222. John Southern is in the 97 and 16th. Alan Zocker runs in 17th. Dave Hicks in 18th. Kevin Lockridge runs in the 19th spot. Tom Bagley runs in the 20th spot. 21st is Gene Jodowain. 22nd, Art Zeismer. 23rd is Steve Stadolski. 24th, Jason Greenwood. 25th is Chris Demizio. 26th, Bill Hamill. 27th is John Milvac. 28th, Gary Traverso. 29th, Bruce Malter. And 30th is Bob Rasinger. And 31st, riding shotgun on the field has been Max Rotek, who had his unfortunate issue through pit road earlier in this race. And while all of this has been happening too, Mike Bernardi has gotten past the number 60 of Taro Kishida for the second position, which has now brought Taro Kishida and Mike Bernardi into the clutches of Jake Malter, who's been putting on a show the last few laps.
Yeah, last lap, Mike was, two tenths faster than Taro Kishida, so he's making progress on it.
But all this is happening, too, as Mike Bernardi gets a little sideways through the middle of turn number 10. Ethan Tyler runs a little wide there, just a fraction of a bit. But while all this has been happening, too, as the drivers come over the jump and the transition onto the North Circuit has brought back Mike Bernardi and Jake Malter into the fold. But Matt Alexander hasn't really got away. You know, he's only 0.7 of a second ahead of Taro Kishida as well. So any mistake that potentially could be made, or if Mike Bernardi and Taro Kishida start to work together, they might be able to catch back up to the front end of this battle and catch up to Matt Alexander.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Jordan. What Matt wants to do right now is to have Taro Kishida and Mike fight as much as they can so he can extend that lead. But hopefully Taro and Mike can get a good understanding and work together to catch up to Max and put some more pressure onto him.
As the gap starts to grow a little bit more, Matt Alexander has kind of entered in his own zip code and kind of pulled away from the rest of the field right now. Mike Bernardi has kind of started to pull away as well, but Taro Kishida in his car, in that number 60 Silver Bullet, as I like to call it, gets a really good run down the straightaway as the halfway flags are being shown to all the drivers. We are halfway through this race. Taro Kishida, like I said, he gets some kind of drive out of corners, but allows him to suck up to the guys right in front of him really well. And, you know, it allows guys like Mike Bernardi to kind of have to go a little bit under pressure a little bit in this sense. So Taro is really trying to put as much pressure as he can right now on the back bumper of Mike Bernardi in this sense as we come through just halfway. Also, another thing I'd like to mention too is that Sean Bonet, who currently leads in the SM2 field, just came across the line. We'll hopefully pick up that battle here in just a minute. Mark Stadolski has been closing in really quickly on Sean Bonet for the SM2 lead. It's Mark Stadolski right now, that last lap went a 2-minute 52.6 and has now closed the gap within a second of Sean Bonet as well. So the battle for SM2 potentially could be heating up here in just a few corners or a few laps.
So we're halfway through the race. If you were Sean Bonet, what would you be thinking right now after you just got passed?
Well, right now, you know, you're kind of hoping to, with it being just halfway through the race, and you know Mark Stadolski is coming up to you, you know, you're really just trying to kind of hit your marks and everything and just trying to minimize the amount of mistakes you're able to make because you know Mark is coming. You know he's got a faster car. He's been faster the last couple laps. You're just trying as best you can to stay with him as much as you can. As Art Zeismer pulls into pit road and is made the hard left-hand turn behind the wall and is done for the day. So Art Zeismer, unfortunately, having some overheating issues is what we're getting the report on. So his day, unfortunately, will come a couple laps early. We'll look a little bit further back. That battle for P number 5 on the racetrack between Ethan Tyler and Gavin Gleitzman seems to be heating up, as well as Alex Bertignoli and Greg Sorg right behind them. All four of those guys actually that we just saw on screen, all turned their fastest laps of the race. So the competition in themselves of being in the heated part of the battle is really turning up the heat in this race. There's the battle for the lead in SM2 that we just witnessed right there. Sean Bonet has it. Mark Stadolski wants it. They come through turn number 12 over the link, over into the north side of the track, of the circuit, I should say. Sean Bonet continuing to hold on to that spot. Mark Stadolski just trying to now use this time to learn. So if you're Mark Stadolski, you know you caught him. You know you're faster than, let's say, Sean Bonet. What are you looking for in these kind of laps, knowing that you have some time to kind of work with? to set up your pass. What are you looking for in these key moments, Sheldon?
So what he wants to do is he wants to try to get close to Sean, a little bit closer to Sean as these laps close down, and then just take care of his car. Keep the tires cool, keep the brakes cool. Don't overheat them, and just wait for the right moment. Wait for a lap or 2 laps to go, and then make your move. So once we pass him, he doesn't have that much time to get back.
So being very methodical and kind of being very patient with your moves, understand where the mistakes are being made, understand what the driver in front of you is doing, understand, where you're gaining time on him, where he's losing time, where you're better than, maybe where he's better than you, to kind of use that to your advantage. So when you want to set up the pass, you know exactly where on the track you want to make the pass instead of making it at the wrong area.
And you don't want to make it too early, because if you make it too early with so many laps left, then it could be a possibility that you could get past too. So he has to worry about that as well.
Exactly. I was just about to ask that. It gives him time, if you make the pass way too early, to come back and find out where you're doing better, and for him to kind of learn what you're doing, so that way he could try to improve on that a little bit better. We just saw on your screen right now, Ethan Tyler and Gavin Gleitzman are going to battle right now. That is the battle for 5th and 6th. But as they came across the line, Alex Bertinoli and Greg Sorg were nose to tail, bump drafting each other down the front straightaway, and allowed Greg Sorg to actually purchase the fastest lap of the race with a 2 minutes 48.8. That's about 3 to 4 tenths faster than anybody else in the field right now, even faster than Matt Alexander, our race leader. So the bump drafting that Greg Sorg has been performing on Alex Bertinoli has been actually helping them to catch up to Ethan Tyler and Gavin Gleitzman, which is the battle for 5th and 6th.
And with these cars being light and minimal power, the slipstream at this track is going to be very, very powerful, especially for lap times, and especially to get in the right position for passing as well.
Well, not only that, but the long straightaways that we have here, too, between our start-finish straight, the straightaway from turn 10 to 11, and then we're going to go 3 wide in the corner. Jason Greenwood making a very aggressive move, and he hits Gene Jodawayne.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that, especially this late into the race.
Greenwood now making an aggressive move, going to the inside, all the way on the bottom. It looks like Todd Bagley there for a moment. Maybe even even Steve Stadolski, for a matter of fact. 2 red cars that we'll have to pick up on a little bit later. But Greenwood going very aggressively to the inside. Thought it was the time to pounce there. Went to the corner way too hot. Locked up the brakes. Slid all the way through. Hit John Jodawayne. And there's the 08 of Ethan Tyler at the exit of turn number 16 off the track. Trying to keep the tires clean as much as you can and trying to re-enter the track safely. Ethan Tyler able to get back going all the way to the inside, maybe trying to hold the spot off from, I think it's Scott Ballard. Scott Ballard's going to be able to pass him cleanly coming onto the racetrack. But also as well, we talked about how Jason Greenwood went into the corner, locked up the brakes, couldn't steer the car to make the corner, carried too much speed, ran into Gene Jodawayne. What happened there, Shelton? Right now, as we saw there, as going into the corner there, we saw what looked like Jason Greenwood kind of go into the side of Gene Jodawayne, kind of pushed him up the track. Gene went off into the grass. Jason went off into the grass, carried too much speed into the corner, and knew it wasn't going to be able to make the corner stick. As you can see on our screen, the battle for the lead is starting to heat up quite a bit. It's going to be looking like Matt Alexander has continued to hold the lead, but has been ran down by the number 8, 60, and 69 of Mike Bernardi, Taro Kushida, and Jake Malter. The gap was probably around 1 second between all 3 cars. Now it's down to 0.2 of a second. So right now you can see that Mike Bernardi has closed up the gap as we go on board with Gavin Gleitzman, who's in front of both Alex Bertinoli and Greg Sorg, who have been working together trying to catch up to the back bumper of Gavin Gleitzman.
Now we're almost approaching 3 laps to go, and Matt Alexander is still holding the lead, with only 2 tenths coming from Mike and 7 tenths from Taro Kushida.
Right now we're also seeing that Gavin Gleitzman has got himself a handful with the cars. He's really having to work this wheel in order to hold the car straight. Mike Bernardi, something has happened to him is he's fallen back 2 spots. Carl Kashida's gone by. Jake Malter has gone by. Mike Bernardi has fallen back from 2nd to 4th. So something has happened on the racetrack to Mike Bernardi that we just weren't able to see, but it's also gained the gap a little bit.
Now we're having some interesting battles happening closer towards the back of the pack, especially on coming into South Track. Well, going into North Track, North 3.
That would be the number 51 of Gavin Gleitzman. In front of right now would be Alex Bertinoli and Greg Sorg. Those two guys have kind of been pushing. Big slide there from Greg Sorg on the rear end. He's been trying to kind of hold that thing all the way together, trying to help get to the back bumper of Alex Bertinoli so that way he can push his way up to the front. But right now he's been trying to kind of hold that rear end to himself. Greg Sorg continuing to slide a little bit, trying to help get to the back bumper Alex Bertinoli to push him up to Gavin Gleitzman for that 5th and 6th position. Bertinoli now able to get a good draft down from turn 16 into 17. He looks a half a car length lower. Gleitzman kind of losing the rear end just ever so slightly. Gleitzman now continuing to hold the spot. Bertinoli, however, wants it as they come off the final corner. Bertinoli going to get a huge run down the front straight. Does he have anything to do with it? Still so far, too far back to be able to do anything with it as they go into turn number 1. Looks another half a car length lower. You can see in the Sentinel camera on the back there is that he's been really trying. Gavin Gleitzman having a wheel full there, having a handful, trying to hold on to the thing. Bertinoli going to look to the inside, going into turn number 2. Going to the inside. Can he take position on it? You can give it to Alex Bertinoli. He clears him. Bertinoli now moves up to the top 5. Gavin Gleitzman back to 6. And you can throw Greg Sorg into the battle here as he's looking at his chops trying to get to back to the battle of Gavin Gleitzman. He's now looking to have a car like to the inside of Alex Bertinoli. Thinks better of it. Falls back in line. Now you got Gavin Gleitzman who's trying to get to back in front of Alex Bertinoli, but Greg Sorg is ready to pounce at any mistake Gavin Gleitzman has.
Yeah, if I was Greg, I'll be really hoping that these two will continue fighting and take each other out.
We'll see what happens here. Potential mistakes could happen as you're looking at Bertinoli potentially going a little defense here. Gleitzman going to go to the back bumper, look for the brake lights. He sees him, makes the downshift, looks for a half a car length inside. He's inside.
He's going
of it
to the
now.
inside of Patience.
Can he make it stick? He throws it all the way inside. Loses the rear. Contact is made. Pushes Alex Bertinoli off the racetrack. Greg Sorg's going to make the pass. Can he make hit stick? He goes off the track a little bit. Sorg to the inside.
And this all works perfectly out for Greg. And he just wants to keep it clean all the way into the next corner.
Sorg to the inside. Bertinoli outside. Gets a bump from Gavin Gleitzman. Able to push it next to him. Side by side. And go into the corner. Go very close. Sorg gets the buy out of it. Sorg gets the pass in him. Bertinoli goes to second. And Gavin Gleitzman falls back in line in the 3rd spot. And by the way, this is all for 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Oh, those points matter, especially to them. It doesn't matter any position that they can get, they're going to grab because those points mean everything, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the championship fight, you expect the points are going to matter all the way through. Every point matters in the championship, especially with the drops that we have coming at the end of the year when we tally all the guns.
Now, we have a message from Race Control with a warning for 808, which is
That's Bob Riesinger.
Yes, for just having too many off. So he's just having a real hard time trying to keep it on the black stuff. I mean, it could be just the grass. Like I said before, it's been raining this past week, so the grass is still kind of wet.
Potentially even a little overdriving, we could say, too. So Bob's just kind of needed to dial it back just a little bit. White flag being displayed to Matt Alexander in the 157, to Taro Kashida, to Jake Malter, who runs in 3rd. Mike Bernardi comes in round 4th in 4th right now, but we have the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. They come across the line. Greg Sorg in the 71, Alex Bertinoli in the 14, and the 51 of Gavin Gleitzman.
Now we got two great battles from one to 3rd place, and then the 5th to 7th, which is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, especially in the penultimate lap of this race.
Meanwhile, in the SM2 battle, as they come across the line, Sean Bonet has extended his gap over Mark Stodolski. It was a couple tenths of a second, 7 tenths, before we started getting into the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Bonet has opened it up to about 2.2 seconds, but Stodolski continuing to run his fastest laps. However, Bonet is continuing to run laps even faster as we go back.
We're back on board for the other.
You go back on board with Gavin Gleitzman. We got a lap car in front of him with Matt Strokin, I think, in front of them. Greg Sorg is going to have to figure out how to manage his way around it as Bertinoli looks to the inside. Gleitzman going to get the better run down the back straightaway. He gives Bertinoli a bump. They go through it. Flat car on the inside. That's the 222 of Max Rotik, and they make it through all the way past Arclini.
And this benefits Greg because he's already got past that back marker, and then he has the 2 cars behind him just fighting each other, so he's able to pull out a little bit of a gap. Even though it's a little, it's going to mean a lot, especially in this last couple of corners.
Greg Sorg was able to get a good run through turn number 10. Will carry that momentum all the way to turn number 11. Going to keep Alex Bertinoli from having any attack or offense on him, so he's going to keep the racing line. They go into turn number 11. As we go in line formation, it's Sorg, Bertinoli, but Sorg goes off the track. He drives it in too hard, gets back on the racetrack, doesn't lose any time, however, but Bertinoli's going to get a good run. He tries to get in the slipstream, going to get a huge run down the back straightaway, go to the pop to the outside. Can they make it work? Bertinoli around the outside. Sorg going to try to make it stick on the inside. Gavin Gleitzman is going to have to figure out who he has to work with. He goes to work with Greg Sorg, but Bertinoli hanging on to it. Both cars sliding the rear end through the corners.
And just going side by side through North 4 and 5. This is going to be a very interesting finish, especially for both of them. And getting on the wet side of the track,
Bertinoli going to throw it to the inside, goes defensive. Sorg going to try to hang it around the outside. Gavin Gleitzman trying to figure out who to go with. But Bertinoli going to go defensive on Greg Sorg. Sorg going to swing back to the right-hand side. Bertinoli going to block it through it. But
we have the leaders coming into the line. We have Matt Alexander taking the win with Taro Kashida P2 and Jake Malter P3.
What a unsafe turn of events, but the line for P5 and 6 coming to the line. Alex Bertinoli going to come across the line. Bertinoli going to take home 5th. Sorg in 6th. And Gavin Gleitzman comes home in 7th. What a battle between those 3 all race long.
Yeah, that was a great battle between those 3, especially for Alex. With that incident that he had with Gavin, he did great to keep his composure and to find the right spot to pass Greg and to take that position.
Sean Bonet comes across the line to win in SM2. Mark Stadolski comes in 2nd for SM2. And the battle for the final position on the podium is between Jeff Newman and the number 97 of John Southern as they come across the final corner. And then we'll give that position to actually Jeff Newman. He will come home in 3rd and round out the podium finish. Kevin Lockridge and Tom Bagley are going to come across the line. That's for the Spec Miata and Spec Miata 2 field. That's for 18th and 19th as well.
With Ethan Tyler and Steve Sadowski in 20th and 20th one.
So as the rest of the field comes on by, grabs the checker flag, let's take a moment to digest what we just witnessed there, Shelton. A bunch of defensive battles and racing, and a lot of guys basically just hanging it out there.
Yeah, they're just hanging it out. They're pretty much fighting for. Seemed like they were fighting for their lives this race.
A lot of moves were being made. A lot of guys were kind of driving it in a little too deep, but that's what can happen when the hot temperatures come into play and water sometimes seeps through the track. It can allow for interesting conditions between the dry and wet conditions a little bit in that sense.
Right, and between last week to this week is a big difference because these guys barely had any running. So the first time really on full track for this year and coming into an unknown. So this promoted very great racing.
Big win for Matt Alexander to come back into the points fight here after finishing 4th in the first race of the season. He comes back, takes home the win in the second race of the season. He wins the Springtime Speedfest race here at Audubon. Mike Bernardi comes home in 4th. Decent result for him. Jake Malter in his first race of the season comes home in 3rd. Taro Kashida, though, second place finish of the year, also comes away with the fastest lap. So Taro Kashida, Mr. Consistency so far with the second place finish. Then you have Mike Bernardi, who finished in 4th. Alex Bertinoli, as we mentioned, rounds out the top 5 with Greg Sorg in 6th. Scott Bauer comes home in 7th. Kevin Ballard in 8th. Luke Satterfield in 9th. And Scott Bowman rounds out the top 10 for your Spec Miata field. In SM2, we had Sean Benet coming home with the win. Mark Stodolski finished off in 2nd. Jeff Newman in 3rd, who finishes rounds out the podium. John Southern finishes in 4th. Alan Zucker comes home in 5th. Kevin Lockridge in 6th. Steve Stodolski in 7th. Jason Greenwood in 8th. Krista Musio in 9th. And Gene Jodawain rounds out the top 10 in SM2. Shelton, we witnessed quite a bit of racing today between all 3 categories of GT Challenge, the Radical Cup Series, and now we got to witness the Spec Miata. You kind of got to witness your first Spec Miata race here at Autobahn. What'd you think of it?
It definitely didn't disappoint. It was a lot of action, a lot of good passes, a lot of good battles being made. So this was definitely a good race to watch, and pretty much it deserves to be the last race of the day.
Very competitive throughout the whole race as well. So nonetheless, we just had a ton of action that we were able to commentate on, and we were able to broadcast to all you guys. So we thank you all so much for being able to tune into the broadcast with us today. Like we said, we wouldn't be able to have this possible without our guys friends at Signature Production Group. They've been able to put on a heck of a show and give us the equipment to bring the show right into your living room or through your internet and computer on YouTube. So we thank you for that. But don't go anywhere. We're not done yet. We still got the podium ceremonies from all of our classes from today's racing action. So don't go away. You're not going to want to miss it for Autobahn Springtime Express.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
In motorsports, a driver has to be at peak performance the moment they put on their helmet. There's no compromises, no room for error, and definitely no excuses. That's why Autobahn is excited to announce our latest series called Time Attack. On Sundays of festival weekends, members are invited to bring their street-legal, unmodified cars to compete for timed laps around our 3.5-mile road course. What is Time Attack? It's a single car, 1-lap test of a driver's ability to push their vehicle to the absolute limits against the clock in order to achieve the fastest lap possible. We have 2 classes, cars under 300 horsepower and over 300 horsepower. But it's not just about raw power, it's the combination of driver skill and performance. That's it. You need to lay it all on the line for that one perfect lap. Can you perform under that pressure? Do you have what it takes to become Autobahn's first Time Attack champion?
Welcome to Kart Circuit Audubon, home of the best arrive and drive karting in the Chicagoland area. This is our brand new fleet of CRG Centurion rental karts that go 50 miles an hour. They're fast, fun, and safe. They are also built for the driver that has the need for speed. Come on out and show us what you got.
All right, here we go. Let's go on with podium ceremonies. We'll start off with GT5 to go on from here. Third place in GT5, it's the 505 of Matt Johnson. Second place was a fierce battle, but it goes to the 961 of Mike Keck. And your winner today in the number 31, Jackson Tovo. All right, we'll move on to GT4 now. GT4 coming in third place, the 172 of Kurt Fordell. Finishing in second place, that's the number 59, Scott Benning Sr. And your winner today in GT4 is the 229 of Charlie Margosian. Accepting for Charlie is Jensen Benet. Move on next to GT3 podium. Finishing third in GT3, it's the number 89 of Bob Norian. Finishing second place, the number 24 of Valdez. Gee. And your winner in GT3, it's the 08 of Mike Bernardi. Moving on to GT2, we'll finish in third. In GT2, it's the 38 of Ernestes Pazas. Coming home second, it's the 81 of Chris Hutter. And the winner in GT2, the 36 of Britt Casey Sr. And rounding out our GT class podium with GT1, finishing in third place, the 174 of David Calzetta. Coming home in second, it's the 161 of Tom Herb. And winning in GT1 is 31 of Tadas Karlinskis. We'll go ahead and move on with our Radical podium here. Finishing third in the Radical Series, It's the 61 of Mike Enzaldi. Finishing second in Radical, the number 9 of Evan Cooley. And your winner in the Radical Challenge, it's the number 34 of Ben Blander. We'll go on to our Spec Miata 2 podium here. Finishing third in Spec Miata 2, it's going to be the 229 of Jeff Newman. In second in Spec Miata 2, it's the 83 of Mark Stodolski. And your winner today in the Spec Miata 2 class, it's the number 27 of Sean Bonet. And last but not least, we'll finish off with our Spec Miata podium. Finishing third in the Spec Miata podium, it's going to be the number 69 of Jake Moulter. Coming home in second in Spec Miata, it's the number 60, Taro Kashida. And your winner today, the 157, Matt Alexander. And with that, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out here for Springtime Speedfest Festival. And we'd like to thank you all and invite you all into the clubhouse for drinks and beverages at the conclusion of today's event.